And then we can get this season underway, Johnny Palmer.
Certainly can.
It seemed like a long winter, hasn't it?
It's been a long week for you as well to wait for racing to actually happen, but we are around the corner now from that moment, and that's the bit I like when the engines are turned on, the revs start to rise, the pace car is in position ahead of the opening race of the year for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com and Johnny Palmer to take you through it. And I sense we might get some new winners in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. DKR Engineering with it all to do with the new driver lineup from 5th position. It was a late win last year for Motorsport 98. In fact, they weren't even able to stand on the top step of the podium because of an infringement from the number 3 car in Portugal. They had the win stripped from them, and to inherit it, Eric de Doncker and Andy Merrick for Motorsport 98, who are back for a second season in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Great to have them on board.
Yep, and it is that second season thing that seems to be a key in LMP3, as it is with very many ladders on the endurance racing snakes and ladders game. Motorsport 98, I expect to show improved pace. Andy Merrick and Eric de Doncker, both very experienced drivers, but understanding your car and the way to set up that car on the fantastic range of circuits that these guys are going to get to race on this season is another key to just pushing that bit further. So, leading car heads the field, snakes back down turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here.
The gap, by the way, at lunchtime for qualifying was 0.3 of a second between Eric Trouillet and Anthony Pont. They're in the seats now ready to take the first stint. So will it be a case of Eric pulling away from Anthony Pons, or will he be able to offer a little bit more now we're into race and set up? The cars will have been adjusted for a 2-hour race, remember, rather than to be quick over a single lap. 0.4 of a second then back to Tony Wells' time, a 1:54.4, and just a 1/10 of a second slower was Alistair McCaig, sharing with Colin Noble. In the GT3 ranks, it was a 1:57.1 from Sergio Pianazzola to take pole position, sharing with Giacomo Piccini. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, a 1:57.7, so a 0.6 of a second gap there. And at the bottom of the screen, we're just working our way through the grid now. And this is where the overlap is, where we've got GT3 cars alongside, in some cases, LMP3s, and it'll take a bit of time to sort those cars out as we get things underway. There's a great shot of the chicane that's been in action for the Eurocup Formula Renault. But we're going to be going straight as a die down the Mistral Straight and towards the turning point at Scene Corner. There's a new pedestrian bridge, by the way, that's been installed as well, that crosses the track between the back of the paddock and the outside of the Mistral Straight, effectively.
All part of the preparations for the return of the French Grand Prix. Formula One coming back to Paul Ricard for the first time in a good long time. It will be the week after the Le Mans 24 Hours, a real festival of motorsport in the fair country of France over those 2 weeks.
I'm sure there are plenty of people that are making sure they do both of those races, with a reasonably long drive in between.
Well, Fernando Alonso for one.
Yeah, very good point. In a moment or two, then the grid will start to take shape and cars will be alongside one another, 2 abreast, with Eric Trouillet starting to, well, as soon as the pace car pulls in, he will dictate the pace. You've got to be careful here at Ricard, though, not to go too early. It is a long wait down to the start line, which is in a different place from the finish line. It's a matter of meters, but they all count. And we have had some dramatic starts here in the past.
Yep, we most certainly have.
And I seem to remember, actually, last year in the ELMS, cars looked like they wanted to get going well before the red lights were extinguished.
Right, and were held.
Yeah, they were. And cars started to splay out to 4 abreast. You need to be careful not to do that too early, but equally, you have to get yourself into a position where you can actually see the red lights, because for those much further down the pack, it'll just be a wall of gearboxes and the rear end of LMP3 cars. So the pace car peels off to the right, and 2 hours appears on our clock. There are the 10 red lights illuminated, and they will stay red until the front row gets close enough. Is it going to be judged as a tidy enough start? Again, we've got overlapping. The red lights are out now, though, so the racing begins, and there's a heck of a lot of pressure on Eric Trouillet's shoulders down towards the first corner. In fact, I think there's going to be a lead change as one of the Nielsen Curie-Cost cars tries to sneak up the inside.
Didn't make it.
That might have been Tony Wells, though, trying to make his presence felt early on. So the racing already for a brand new season has started at turn 1. This time Tony Wells up the inside. Oh, careful not to take much contact. There was a touch, and spinning goes Eric Trouillet. Is it Tony Wells then in that now leading car? Up to second position. A great start from Leonard Hugenboom in the number 3 DKR engineering car. It is Wells that leads the way from Hugenboom in second. Adrian Schiller for Graf is running third. Alistair McCabe fourth, but the big drama is a spin for Eric Trouillet, and there are more off at turns 3 and 4.
That was a trouble for one of the United Autosports car. I think that was the 32 car. Trouble 2, dropping back a little for the CD Sport car. The number 30, Anthony Pons, drops back from his second position on the grid to sit 5th at the moment. That's been good news for Alistair McCabe, who lost out in turn 1 and 2. It is Tony Wells from the DKR engineering car of Leonard Hugenboom, Adrian Schiller, and then Alistair McCabe and Anthony Pons, your top 5.
Wow, fireworks to kick things off, and we're giving it the big build-up. I'm pleased it doesn't disappoint, but sadly for Eric Trouillet, after a really good job qualifying, and an incident actually further back is going to be under investigation, which involves the United Autosports car number 32 and the Motorsport 98 car that was started by Eric de Donker. So that was much further back, and those two cars now run 26th and 27th. But the race leader is Tony Wells for Curie-Cost Nielsen, and by 0.2 of a second he leads Leonard Hugenboom. Now remember, Hugenboom is silver in terms of the FIA ranking, so should be theoretically quicker than a lot of the bronze drivers around him. Don't be surprised to see the number 3 car therefore take the lead. Tony Wells might be best actually to allow him through, knowing that there is a chance for that car to catch up all this time later on in the race. A big wiggle of the tail there.
Big twitch there from Hugenboom. Meanwhile, turn 1, he's got all the cars in the world coming through just now. But Hugenboom, I think, will manage to pull away once he gets onto the Mistral straight. If he's gathered that back up, then the Norma's advantage in straight line speed should seal the deal. SPV car just going up the inside there of that is the RLR car, yes. John Ferrano.
That's the Ferrano car number 14 that started in 14th position.
Let's take a look here at just what kind of straight line advantage this Norma has. We keep being told by the teams it's 4 to 5 miles per hour in a straight line.
Meanwhile, in GT3, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini leads the way for now AF Corsa. So Perezzini taking the lead quite early on, car 71. Kessel Racing from pole position run 3rd, and Sergio Pianazzola doing a good job on this, the second lap, car number 8. And then 3rd in GT3 is the 69 Stila F Squadra Corsa Ferrari, but a Ferrari 458. Martin Grab doing the opening stint. Remember, we saw him in the first part of qualifying, and then he handed over to his teammate. It was grabbed to Yoshiki Omura in the end.
Yeah, Hugenboom, by the way, is checking out here. He is pulling away purple sectors in 1 and 2. He's already 1.6 seconds ahead of Tony Wells. So the strategy there, if you get two of the Normans side by side, that's the number 21 car from DB.
Nicolas Schatz
going by the 30 car from the CD Sports team.
Yeah, and again, not a huge surprise, because Nicolas Schatz is the silver in the combination. Plenty of hill climb experience and has done a full year of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, so he's making strides up the order. The 21 car started from 12th position, but was qualified by Nicolas' teammate. 154.495, the last lap around for Leonard Hugenboom, and that is nearly 2.5 seconds a gap now.
Yeah.
54.4, 57.2 for Tony Wells, so got something like 3 seconds as an advantage per lap, that is, for Leonard Hugenboom.
Just looking further down the order, that is much faster than everybody else is managing at the moment. 56s, there are a couple of those in the order just now, but nowhere anywhere close to 54, so Hugenboom is looking to build up that lead. We've seen it before in Michelin Le Mans Cup. If you're in a position where you think you may be able to gather an advantage from opening up that gap, So he will be hoping that we don't get this race brought under any kind of neutralisation at all until we can get through to the second driver climbing aboard. Of nose-to-tail action there, and that is the 21 car, having gone by the 30, drags by 65, I think, isn't it? The second of the Graf cars. Or is that the 40? It's the 40 car.
40, yeah.
So he's already up into third position and will be closing in on Tony Wells.
Off the track, though, was that Tony making a mistake? Yes, it was. Tony Wells running off the road on his own as well. Big lose. Was that seen? I think that's seen corner at the end of the Mistral straight, and Tony Wells, therefore, at the end of Sector 3, will have lost certainly 2 places, maybe more. We'll check on his progress in a moment or two, but an indication perhaps how hard Tony Wells was pushing in the Ligier to try and catch that rapid Norma M30, and also being aware that Nicolas Schatz was coming through the order as well in a Norma.
Remember we said you couldn't quite go flat there. Well, you can't, by the look of things. Don't think that was that. It was Tony Wells, wasn't it? Yet dropping way down the order, and he emerges in 6th position now behind teammate Alistair McCaig, 5th position in the 79 car. So it's DKR from DB, from Graf from the CD Sports car. 3 Normas in the top 4.
Nearly contact down at turn number 1 for the 25 car of, the 14 car rather, the RLR M Sport machine, and now they're side by side. It's another Graf car, the 39 that is battling with.
That is the recovering Eric.
Yes. So started from pole, now trying to pick off some of those places that Eric lost after there was contact on the opening lap. Still plenty of time in this race for Eric to get a decent result, and he'll be handing over to quick son Adrien Chouillier at roughly half distance. So Eric now ahead of John Ferrano, the Canadian.
Fastest lap again on that. Last time around from Leonard Hugenboom into the 53s this time. There's a 6.1 second lead now over Nicolas Schatz.
And it is 2 Normas out front. The best Ligier being the 40 Graf entry of Adrian Schiller. Then Anthony Pont, who started from the front row in the 30 CD Sport car. There's more action at Scene Bend, and that's the N-Race car, number 99. I reckon, and where had that got to? Alain Costa with a big moment there, thankfully keeping out of the fence, but it is yellow flags at Scene Corner. Much has been made about that corner and how much grip it offers now it's been resurfaced, as the whole track has. And that was after the corner. It
was the same sort of accident. I think that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, trying to see whether or not they can just take it flat. They can't. It's the wind that's really not playing ball with them. This is the battle, and it is a battle for 5th position. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in a row, all the way down to 9th rather, which is the Landon Racing car in the hands of Mike Benham. And those 5 cars separated by, what, 3.5 seconds.
Well, Alistair McCaig certainly let teammate Tony Wells through there at Virage du Pont. I think realising that recovering Tony Wells is quite a bit quicker, so he gave him racing room. Looking over his right shoulder, there you go, Tony, I'll look after anyone that wants to try and get past me now. So Alistair McCaig, a little bit of a rear gunner to Tony Wells, who's trying to recover after that spin. But a big old moment, and when you're going backwards at Scene, you're kind of waiting for the impact. Thankfully, the fence is quite a way off the track, and he was able to recover and lose about 8 seconds, I think. It could have been far, far worse than that for Tony Wells, who's back up to 5th now.
Further fastest lap of the race, 1:52.932 now for Hugenboom, but Nicolas Schatz is actually responding, 6.3 seconds to the gap. And there's almost the same gap back now to 3rd position, so 12.7 seconds separate the top 3. Those leading pair, Johnny, are pulling away.
Nearly 10 minutes of the race done. A little bit more slipstreaming taking place there for the Lannon Racing car of Michael Benham, so trying to get by, I think, the Jean-Ludovic Foubert-driven DB Autosport car. And in the pit lane, was that the Cool Racing?
Yes, it was indeed. It's 24 car.
Yes.
Trouble for the 71 car. Same place again.
Lead of the class. So does that mean we've had a lead change in GT3?
We have.
Sergio Pianazzola, well, there's certainly a black Ferrari up ahead, so that means Martin Grab's got by in the 458. And here's the number 8 car. Now then, the new leader in GT3. So Pianazzola in only his third race ever ahead of now Martin Grab, the Swiss, in the San Marino team 458, Stila F Squadra Corsa, and then Giuseppe Pierrizzini, who has lost 2 places in the red number 71 Ferrari.
Now, whilst those gaps are opening up, of course, remember the 2 guys at the front here are 2 of the higher ranked drivers in their squads. So the idea really is to break the toe of that pack behind, build up a lead for their less experienced teammates to defend. Certainly the lap times of the top 2, the 53s and the 52s at the moment, playing 55, 56, 57s for the group behind. But they've got their own battles to deal with as well.
6.2 seconds the gap then between Leonard Hugenboom and Nicolas Schatz, the 2 silver-ranked drivers. Anthony Pons doing a good job for CD Sport in 3rd. 4th place Adrian Schiller, and then the 2 Ecuria Kost Nielsen cars. And Tony Wells isn't very far away now from Schiller to try and get back into 4th place. Good little battle developing now between Martin Grab and Pierrizzini as well. And if Pierrizzini plays this nicely, he can start to get a bit of a toe from that older Ferrari. He's not quite close enough just yet. Who will that be tucked in behind? Jim Maguire for United Autosports. In fact, both the United Autosports cars are together. Richard Mines also part of that little duo, separated by 0.2 of a second.
Interesting little battle ahead of them as well, because the GT leader has just gone by in the twisty bits in Sector 1, has gone by Shinji Sano in the TKS Ginetta. Sano tucked back in behind the Ferrari, was taking a look through Scene Corner to see whether or not there was an opportunity for the LMP3 car to find a way by. That's the battle for 13th position.
Michael Benham being told he must respect the track limits on the exit of turn 8. Scene Corner, we've had quite a number of cars disrespecting those track limits, but actually being pitched into spins rather than gaining time. I think a little bit of a look at a potential overtake there was the... Which car is that? I'm still getting used to the new liveries. The black and red car.
That's the DB car.
Ah, right. So in 8th position, with Lannon just behind then, Michael Benham.
And Eric Trillier has caught this group after that early race spin. So Eric Trillier on the tail now of Michael Benham. So we've got Ligiers in the middle of this group. A line of 3 Normas now at the rear of it. We know Trillier's got the speed. Don't know what, if any, damage he's done with the tyres, but it was quite a gentle rotation, half rotation really, wasn't it?
And way off in the distance now, Anthony Pons. So the battle of the race is really for 4th position, with quite a tail of LMP3s now, all jostling for places. Nice to see Ligiers keeping up with the pace of the Normas down the straights in places, and the Lannon car of Michael Benham now has for company Eric Trillier tucked in right behind. You can barely see him, in fact, as they approach Scene Corner. Then they fan out into that right-hander at turn 8.
Big wiggle from Benham as he came through again. They're in the Troll trying to take liberties there.
Yeah,
and he's lost the place.
You know, losing momentum and now losing a spot to Eric Trillier.
No, he's not. He's defended it. I thought he'd lost enough momentum. Trillier to find the inside line. He's still inside. They both touch.
Over the curb goes Benham in recovery, and that will surely have done damage to Eric Trillier's car. We wondered about the damage caused by the spin. Well, they were taking chunks out of each other.
So that was John Ferrano just gaining the advantage as well. Watch this again.
So this is turn 11.
There's a closing gap. And Benham decided to take the line for the corner. We didn't have the ideal line to see that, did we?
No, I think that's fair to say. But race control and Eduardo Freitas, the race director, will have many other views to watch that back again. And unsurprisingly, that incident at turn 11 is under investigation. So any news that we get on that, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, Eduardo Freitas must have the best motorsport Christmas tape ever.
You would think so, yes. And also, I know that's the same incident with this, another message being flashed up on our screen. So much for Eric Trillier's recovery drive. He's doing quite a good job there and set to overtake quite a few more cars. Well, he's keeping the pedal down. See how far up the order he can get.
With all those shenanigans behind, the lead pair still separated by 6.2 seconds, are pulling away from Anthony Pons It's 6.2 seconds first to second, then 21 seconds back from the leader. It's the third place number 30 car.
Giuseppe Perezzini off the road again in the 71 Ferrari, so he was trying to get those places back again. What happened here? Outbraked himself maybe, turning, oh no.
It's very odd.
Yes, sort of made the corner and then decided to turn left. Kind of after the right-hander at turn 3. Wouldn't be surprised to see his Ferrari visit the pit lane at the end. I don't think it's handling quite as well as he'd expected. So the 8 car leads GT3, then the 69 Ferrari, the black car. Christoph Ulrich now into the podium positions then in that red and black Ferrari. And so where's the Porsche therefore?
Porsche's dropped down its 24th position. It is 6th position in class and under pressure now from the rear from John Hartshorn.
What we're looking at, in fact, that's why I was getting confused, is the battle for 6th and 7th in GT3. So Christoph Ulrich quite a bit further up the road in the other Spirit of Race Ferrari. That was a Kessel Racing Ferrari chasing down the EB Motors Porsche. Meanwhile, there's the 79 of Alistair McCaig, with on his tail Jean-Ludovic Foubert for DB Autosport. And a little bit of a gap back to Sergio Passian for Graf in car 65. Eric Chouier didn't lose that many places as the GT3 leaders off the road this time. That is the number 8, I believe. No, it's not. It's a car that's very similarly liveried.
It's the sister car, 77.
Claudio Schiavone. So take another deep breath, Johnny. Not quite as much of a disaster for GT3 as we thought.
Big twitch on the braking, wasn't it?
And off then the racing line on the marbles, where the Michelin tyres have started to, obviously as that rubber wears off the tyre, it works its way to the outside of the track. You get a very clean racing line, but if you're off that into turn 9, there is no grip whatsoever.
Now, whilst there's been a lot of track action here, they have to keep the track pretty clean, and the battering it's taken for the rain has been more like a jet wash at times.
Car 71, as I suggested it might, has now come into the pit lane. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini's Ferrari is not a happy car, it would seem, having turned in at turn 3 in the usual place and then needing to turn left and straight off the road. All a bit mysterious. Here he is. And we're also hearing the team manager for car 98 will have to head to race control to visit Eduardo Freitas or one of his staff members.
Motorsport 98, that was the early issue.
There's the 7th place battle in GT3 then, and it is still the Porsche of EB Motors, so therefore Paolo Renarossi being pursued by John Hartshorn, and they find themselves all of a sudden not battling over 6th and 7th, but up to 4th and 5th now because of dramas around them. The pitting 71 Ferrari drops it to the rear of the GT3 field, and the Kessel Racing Ferrari, its spin for Claudio Schiavone, means that that's now 6th place, and these two have gained a couple of spots. Nearly 20 minutes done of the first round of the year.
Yeah, of the early pit stoppers, the N-Race car has rejoined. The incident, by the way, for the number 98, I'm pretty certain is with Naj Hussain in the number 32 United car in the very early running. So that one is being under investigation. You see, there's trouble for the 71 car here. Perezzini.
Sure whether that is
brakes.
Well, brakes, yes. Those little pots often are the brake fluid and also pressures. Is it a brake bias issue? Is it a steering rack issue? I was
the other thing. Just as soon as you said it, when you look when they're looking in the car, because it might explain that very odd runoff.
He turned into the corner, then just was not happy at all and had to turn straight out of it again. So whether it's a vibration that he's not happy with, or something that, you know, he operated in the cockpit and the car just did not do what he was expecting. Clearly, Pier Giuseppe not happy to carry on the grounds of safety, probably more than anything else, and the team are looking over it. If you do want a team looking over your Ferrari, AF Corsa would no doubt be the choice of many up and down the pit lane. They know these things inside and out. They'll try and solve it whilst the race continues, and it's worth getting back out again because you can still earn decent points in GT3 with there being 7 runners. Just make sure you have to do the prescribed race distance, which is somewhere in the region of 70 or 75%. Replay of the start from one of our drone cameras, and the SPV car was well off the track on the blue there. Wonder whether the 44 car might be pinged for that. The red lights, though, finally did get extinguished. As I say, it's a long, long wait out of that final corner. And you need to keep the grid neat and tidy. Tony Wells wasted no time at all, starting to race, but there was contact then between the number 2 and the 39 pole-sitting Graf car. And a great sight these cars made down the Mistral straight for the first time, 2 and 3 abreast, as Tony Wells dictated the pace, but he was being pursued by Leonard Hugenboom, who now leads after 10 laps completed. A big off, though, for Tony in the Ikuria Kos Nielsen car at Scene Corner. Thankfully got it pointing in the right direction quite quickly, cost him about 8 seconds. And unbeknownst to Leonard Hugenboom, that all kicked off behind him, but Hugenboom's keeping the Norma M30 on the straight and narrow, and already this season taking a familiar look to last year. But there will be many more, I'm sure, that can take the fight to DKR Engineering this year. At the moment, it looks like it'll be a Norma, though. Nicolas Schatz driving a Norma M30 for DB Autosport. 7 seconds is the gap, though. He's lost more time to Leonard Hugenboom. These are 2 silver-ranked drivers up against each other. Meanwhile, nose to tail through the final few corners of this lap. This is recovering Tony Wells, tucked in behind Adrian Schiller. It's car 40 leading this train in 4th position from the 2 Nielsen cars, 2 and 79. Then Jean-Ludovic Foubert, as up the inside there goes Alistair McCaig. Very late manoeuvre there on Foubert into Virage Dupont. I think he just about made that stick, but came from a long way back as Pier Giuseppe Perezzini is back in the race, Graham.
Yeah, absolutely rejoined whatever that problem is. They're happy enough for him to get back on track. He's lost a couple of laps to that issue. So nailed pretty firmly to the rear of the GT pack. Number 8 though, 13th position overall. 3rd race of his career, is that correct? Wow.
Yeah. And a couple of Golf 12 hours that traditionally run in December at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. Slicing his way up the inside there, Leonard Hugenboom. The gap was there, you got to go for it, because all this time gained at the moment may potentially be lost when you hand over to your non-pro driver, and everybody else is handing to their quicker members of the various duos. So might look like Hugenboom is bossing this race at the moment. We get to half distance though, and the whole thing takes a very different complexion.
Yeah, we're 23 minutes into the race, and this is the group from 4th down to, what is that, 10th?
But a reminder of what happened on the opening lap with Eric Truier very quickly facing the wrong way. That incident under investigation. A spin for Tony Wells as well from 2nd place. And a big moment for Alain Costa in the N race machine. There was contact between Eric Truier and Michael Benham. Graf versus Lannon Racing. That's also being looked at again. And there's now contact between the 79 and the 20, so it wasn't a clean manoeuvre at turn 14. In fact, for McCaig, I suggested he came from quite a ways back there to overtake Jean-Ludovic Foubert, and it looks like they've had door-handle to door-handle contact, as you might say in a touring car race, into turn 14, so that's going to be looked at again by Eduardo Freitas. He's had a busy race so far.
It certainly has. It does look like Hugenboom is really caning that car, hammering the curbs. This is the 2nd place car going side to side with the Brookspeed car. This is the number 4 car, John Sharman. Race for the team in GT4. Another man who's actually done the Golf 12 hours. Together with other racing with the Southampton Eastleigh based team. Long time stalwarts of endurance racing back in the day with the GTS class Vipers, British GT champions, and then more recently their little GT4 Caymans, now into LMP3.
It's an interesting point you make there about Hugenboom and his full attack mode for the opening stint. Can the car deal with that sort of punishment across a prolonged period? There's a spin there for the Stila F Squadra Corsa car. This was the 2nd placed GT3 machine of Martin Grab. And did he end up there on his own, or was he helped into a spin at turn 13? Covered briefly by yellow flags, and what's the next car around going to be? It's the race leader, I think, not very far away.
Yeah, he's lost a place to the 51 car for starters in class. quite what else as the pack of snarling LMP3s come through.
And Schiller losing places hand over fist here because Tony Wells has grabbed 4th position then. Schiller's actually lost 3 places, I make it, to Tony Wells, Alistair McCaig and Foubert. I think he was just off the racing line actually and just couldn't cut back in because they're all racing at such close quarters. It was almost a typical American stock car type move in that, you know, you get you off the racing line and nobody's going to let you back in again.
Indeed, 25 gets the black and white flag for that contact. That is the London racing car. That was Mike Benham, the touch that saw both the Normas semi-rotate.
And there's
Look at this. It's like the graph collection.
It certainly is. Yes, all 3 of them have found one another. And Eric Trouillet on the up, arguably Adrian Schiller on the tumble down, but a good example as well of the 2 different chassis here side by side in similar paint jobs. The first of them is a Ligier, the second is a Norma M30. There's another Ligier tucked in behind. Also trying to gain spots is Alvaro Fontes in the all-yellow Ligier from SPV, and he's gained 1 place on that Graf Ligier then into turn 5.
It's a needle-nosed Norma, and a kind of flatter-nosed Ligier with the air intakes on the top of that nose.
And up ahead, Tony Wells and Alistair McCaig. Well, Wells in a little bit of clear air now, and he might be able to bring Alistair McCaig with him. McCaig doing his best sector 1 time as pitting. This is Jean-Ludovic Foubert for DB Motorsport in the 20 car.
No, that wasn't. I think that was the Motorsport 98 car. That's Eric de Doncker.
Ah, doing the drive-through. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you for that. So Eric de Doncker
through and back out again.
Yeah, 25 seconds is a drive-through, isn't it?
Yeah, he drops off the lead lap in doing so because as he emerged from pit lane, heading down towards turn 1, was the race leader.
Well, that was an incident that happened early on in the race that we didn't see, but the 98 judged to be at fault for it regardless, and that's his punishment. Takes 25 seconds to drive from the start to the end of the pit lane. That's worth noting for later races in the weekend.
Yep, remember, you don't lose 25 seconds because you'll lose 25 seconds less, if you like, the speed you're carrying down pit lane.
Yeah, still moving. It's not a stop and hold, as it were, as Leonard Hugenboom finds even more speed at the head of the order. It's an absolute best through sector 1, so clearly he's found an area of the track now that he's not affected by GT3 cars.
He's pulled down a couple of seconds in traffic over Nicolas Schatz. It's 8.8 seconds at the moment, the lead. It had been down to about 6.1. 71 car, by the way, has been back into the pits. Giuseppe Perezzini, so all is not well with that 71 Ferrari.
Clearly they're trying to chase an issue that they can't rectify right now, but Pier Giuseppe Perezzini not happy with the behaviour of the car. Are the 2 Écurie Cos cars able to match the speed of Anthony Pons? Well, on that lap it would suggest they are quicker than the Frenchman.
6 seconds the gap. Out comes Perezzini. And coming by this time, that is the aero paint decorated United Autosports car of Jim Maguire, the 22 ahead of the TKS Ginetta, and then Naj Hussain in that delayed 32 United car. So the 3 United cars covering 14th through 17th at the moment in the hands of their gentlemen drivers. Some quick guys to come, and a very nice story to come for United Autosports. We'll wait until the pit stops to tell that one.
Okay.
A significant milestone for one of the pro drivers about to climb aboard in the next half an hour. Off goes Shinyo Sano.
Oh dear. Shinyo Sano driving the only Ginetta P315 in the field, powered by exactly the same 5-litre Nissan engine as all the other cars, by the way. And the Japanese flagged TKST. Shinyo Sano is Japanese and shares with bronze driver Luca Magnoni, who takes the 2nd stint of this race. So TKS were 16th, they're slipping a couple of places as a result of that moment. 10.7 seconds now, though, is the lead margin for this car. Leonard Hugenboom out front from Nicolas Schatz. Still no change in the order for now 3rd and 4th in the GT3s. So an example of what can come your way, or 4th and 5th rather, what can come your way if you just keep out of trouble, I suppose. They've gained a couple of places of these two cars, Paolo Venarossi and John Hartshorn. And Ikuria Kos reaching turn 5 now. So 2 leading 79. And they're trying to hunt down Anthony Pons, but last time around the gap was opened up very slightly.
Yeah, those 3 are pulling away from the rest of that chasing pack. Ikuria Kos, Nielsen, Liches and the number 20 DB Autosports Norma, who's tucked in behind the pair, are certainly gapping the chasing pack, headed now by Eric Trullier, who's made his way up through that pack and is now about to lap the GT leader, I think.
Foubert not very far away for DB Autosport, keeping up with the speed of the 2 Ikuria Kos cars then. So it's still a 3-way fight for 4th, 5th and 6th. Then the 2 Graf cars of Trullier and Adrian Schiller. And Alvaro Fontes in the SPV racing car. We mentioned that machine gaining a place on Sergio Passian a couple of laps ago. John Ferrano's running 11th now. Michael Benham trying to recover after that collision with Eric Trullier. The Lannon car up to 12th. And then we find the GT3 leader, Sergio Pianazzola, not very far away from breaking into the top 10 of the overall positions.
Remember, about 28, 29 minutes away from starting to see some really exciting names added to the cocktail of this race. Again, the 71 car, shortcuts, there's something not right there. And, you know, your theory about the steering, maybe the steering and the brakes, whatever it is, he's not very happy with that car.
And you want to be confident the car's going to turn in and do what you want at places like turn 8 at the end of the Mistral. Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky enough corner as it is.
Leader now passes Shinyo Sano, so the leader has passed everybody up to, but not yet including 16th position. Big twitch again though, and off the road as a result.
He's on the ragged edge here, Leonard Hugenboom. It's a good drive with that in mind, but also you're on the cusp all the time as far as track limits are concerned, and they will be eagerly watched by Eduardo Freitas, the race director, and the rest of his team in race control. Doesn't take much to just push it a bit too far and on too many occasions and get a warning.
Well, he's pulled out in this stint so far in 33 minutes, something like 49 seconds over the leading bronze driver.
Very different lines here being taken by the Porsche and the Ferrari that are battling for 4th and 5th in GT3. John Hartshorn thinking about a move up the inside, but he also needed to be aware that Anthony Pons was steaming through in the number 30 car. He was at almost flat chat there trying to squeeze up the inside of this battling duo. Now it is safe for Pons to get by on the left-hand side of John Hartshorn, also nipping by the Porsche before turn 14, and can allow those 2 GTs to continue their battle.
Yeah, John Hartshorn, long-time endurance racer, usually in GT machinery in relatively recent years, has done some racing in the old Formula Le Mans cars, but 2 appearances at Le Mans, 1 the last appearance for TVR back in the day, and that's newsy in the last week or 2 with the news that new look TVR is partnering with Rebellion Racing, then latterly with the Lotus Evora, the factory team, with a Pro and a Pro-Am car fielded, and John was part of the setup there for that Le Mans appearance.
Place change there for 15th overall as Naj Hussain gets ahead of teammate Jim Maguire. It looked like the 2 United Autosports drivers were able to fight one amongst themselves there, and the team happy for that to happen, as right behind them
is the leader. So the leader about to deal with the 16th and 15th place cars to put them a lap down. And this is all part of the plan. Do what you can to effectively take some of these guys out of the game before you hand over to your gentleman driver.
Yeah, if you can put them a lap off the pace, then that will impact massively later on in the race. 9.7 seconds to gap, so Hugenboom loses a bit of time trying to get by those 2 United Autosport P3s. Schatz gained only 0.3 of a second on that lap. Anthony Pons in 3rd position, and now well adrift of the leading 2, but being caught at the same time by Tony Wells and Alistair McCaig, who are embroiled in their own bit of traffic here. They're trying to get by the battle in GT3 for 4th and 5th.
It again is the EP Motors car ahead of John Hartshorn's Kessel Racing Ferrari. It's been a battle that's been going on from, well, the opening minutes of this race.
So the car's getting by. Tony Wells, Alistair McCaig and Jean-Ludovic Foubert.
With Trullier in amongst them now. Not in amongst them, but catching them.
What was this?
This is the two United cars, and this was positional change with Hussein going around the outside. That is a pretty gutsy move.
Getting the toe on Jim Maguire. Jim just edging now towards the left-hand side of the circuit. Fully aware, I'm sure, that it was the sister car trying to get through. And in the end, Jim Maguire had to accept defeat.
Trullier struggling a little bit more than the other three did to get by that battling pair of GTs. He's now clear. Meanwhile, the leader has dealt with the task of lapping the two United cars. His next target to put a lap down is the GT leader.
Into 14 comes Leonard Hugenboom again, enjoying this 9 and a bit second lead then. Two United Autosport cars in his wake. DKR Engineering from Luxembourg on course to continue their success in the Michelin Le Mans Cup after such a great year in 2017. Down the Mistral goes the battle for 4th and 5th in GT3s. There's the Graf racing car tucked in behind as well. That might be Passia. No, it's the middle Graf car, so it's the Adrian Schiller machine next to get by, I reckon. And then in the background is Sergio Passian in that red, white and blue car. There is car 44, driven still by Alvaro Fontes. And John Ferrano will be next through shot. There he is in the white number 14 RLR M Sport car.
Yep, and I'm beginning to get to the stage now I'm thinking, right, where are these guys in relation to each other and who's coming next? Because we've got some real speed to come from a pretty large proportion of these squads. It's the side-to-side 65 there with the 50 car. And here comes the SPV car as well. John Hartshorn, aware that he's there. There's so far he can go to the right. Tucks in behind as the 44 car goes by. 10th position.
Good indication there of how much quicker from not quite a dead stop, but very slow corner at 14. The comparative acceleration speed of an LMP3 versus a GT3 car got by the Ferrari very quickly indeed. Dispatches the 88 Porsche as well, Paolo Venerossi. And down towards turns 3, 4 and 5, finding quick succession. Short blast of a straight into 6 and 7 as well. Meanwhile, in 3rd position in GT3 is Martin Grab for Steyr F Squadron Corsa. So this is the black Ferrari coming right towards us down the Mistral, and there are LMP3s looking to get by very quickly. That first of those is the 79, I reckon.
There's been a change around in that order, because I think Tony Wells has dropped back a couple of positions here.
Yes, yeah.
Alistair
Timing screen would agree with that.
Yeah.
So we've got McCaig ahead. Is that running wide? Oh, that's the Ferrari. And trying to actually make room for the quicker LMP3s to get through. So Tony Wells trying to just now thread the eye of the needle and get underneath the 458, which he did, I think, without contact. But the 79 and the 20, oh, that was from earlier on in the race. No further action, we understand. But what happened to Tony Wells?
That's how Tony Wells lost it. There was, if there wasn't contact, it certainly balked him. The 458 that lost in the position of McCaig, and the loss of momentum saw him also fall behind Foubert. But he's now under real pressure from Eric Trullier.
There is confirmation that the incident earlier on, the contact between Alistair McCaig and Jean-Ludovic Foubert, there'll be no further action. Matt Bell taking a watching brief on the wall there at United Autosports.
And that's because Matt is looking forward to that milestone I was referring to. When he gets aboard the Ligier, he will be starting his 100th race for United Autosports. That's some record. Car 69, slow and has stopped at the final turn. And there it is, that's the 458.
Well, yellow flag's now covering it, and no sign of damage on that car, but grinding to a halt
just before the pit entry.
How frustrating
that
is
is the blend line right in the centre of the screen.
Yeah.
No more than about 200 metres to the safety and sanctuary.
Might again be, we've seen one or two electrical problems this weekend. It could be easily rectified with the team, if only the driver who is dropping down the order now, Martin Grab, down to 6th place. If Martin can just ease that car forward, maybe do a quick reset in the cockpit, get it to the team, they might be able to press the big reset button underneath the car and get it going again.
Past comes the remarkably Toyota-looking Lannan Norma LMP3, but this battle has been going on since the opening minutes, is now for a podium position.
Yeah.
Between the EB Motors Porsche and the number 50 Castellet racing car, John Hartshorn. Ollie Hancock still to come aboard this car. Yellow flags, of course, at that turn 13.
Up the inside of the Porsche goes Michael Benham. So hope his car's not too damaged.
So double yellows to protect the scene there, as they'll make a decision whether or not it's safe to get an intervention vehicle there to tow that car to safety.
Double waved yellows as a result of possibly marshals needing to go out on track and to push start that Ferrari.
It's in the background Pier Giuseppe Perezzini emerging for the 3rd time, and indeed we have got the intervention quad bike. We've seen that here before.
Yeah. So a single marshal rides the quad bike up to the front of the Ferrari, then gets off, attaches the tow rope, the strop, to the towing eye on the front of that 458, and it will presumably now be driven down the pit lane with obviously still the driver on board, Martin Grab, so he'll be able to steer it in the right direction and get it back to the team without the need of a safety car. So really good recovery there.
18 minutes from the halfway mark, Johnny, and we're going to start to see some movement on pit lane with drivers getting themselves kitted up and ready.
6.7 seconds is now the margin, so that's come way down between Hugenboom and Nicolas Schatz. In fact, that Ferrari 458 will not return to the pit lane. It's going behind the Armco overlap. It might find its way back to the pits via one of the internal roads. Green flags everywhere, including at turn 14 now, so you can race once more. And I'm intrigued by Nicolas Schatz able to just close in a little bit now to the race leader. 7 seconds when it was as much as 10 earlier on.
Traffic, I think, because he's now the leader, lapped everybody up to 13th position. Richard Means in the Gulf Marine liveried United Autosports car. But so with 17 minutes still to go to halfway here, he's going to have a lap on a remarkable proportion. May well be as much as he can manage to pass the 13th place car, because the pace of the remaining cars will, I think, keep them safe. Still this battle goes on between John Hartshorn. He's tried literally everywhere here to get back by the Porsche.
Yeah, he has tried inside, outside, trying to throw the Porsche into a little bit of or throw a dummy at the Porsche driver.
Totally clean though.
Oh no, it's been cracking stuff.
Battle.
Yeah, and these drivers, non-pros, very gentlemanly battle, but they're very quick as well for their level of driving. And the Porsche has been kept wide by Paolo Venerossi. I'm sure there'll be handshakes all around when these drivers step out at half distance. But no change in the order, although, as you say, John Hartshorn is a right nuisance in the rear-view mirrors here of this Porsche GT3. You can watch the race through all manner of routes these days. Your personal device, and that's being done on the pit wall. Porsche braking into turn 3, just about clipping the apex.
I should say, by the way, they are being caught here by Claudio Schiavone in the number 77 car. You can see the blue car in the background.
So Schiavone in the 77 Kessel Racing Ferrari.
Now up the inside, is that going to work for John Hartshorn? It's not. Closer than ever. He will have got the message that his teammate, it's the 3rd Kessel car, is catching. Now back again they go down the Mistral.
And of course this might present an opportunity for John, because if he allows Schiavone through and Schiavone finds a gap on the Porsche, John might be able to follow that other Ferrari through, therefore. Wouldn't actually gain a place as it turns out, but it'd be useful to get rid of this pesky Porsche nevertheless. Getting rather bored now of the sponsors for that car.
That's trouble for John Ferrano in the 14 car. Can he restart? He has got it restarted. Turn 9. Takes the wide arc turn around to rejoin.
Away in the distance there is the paddock building and the garages, by the way, so an indication of exactly where it was on the circuit. And thankfully that 14 car rejoined just before this battle for third and fourth rather in the category arrived on scene. There's the other Ferrari that Graham talks about, Claudio Schiavone, getting larger and larger in the rearview mirror. John Hartshorne may have an opportunity of drawing alongside into 14, not quite. Perhaps more concentrated on the exit speed.
He's waiting for any kind of problem or mistake from the Porsche. He's got better straight line speed, it seems, there in the earlier part of the straight. Looks now to do the cutback. Has he got them out? I don't think he has, you know.
Not going to be close enough, is he? And I don't think he's confident enough about the Ferrari on the brakes to go for a fully committed move into turn number 1. But it's interesting, as he was pulling for second and third gears there, the Ferrari definitely had the measure on the Porsche. But then as the Porsche hit mid-range, away it went.
Yep.
So that's your balance of performance playing out in front of our eyes. And here's the race leader, Leonard Hugenboom. Now, is he aware of how intense this fight is? And actually, it might drive an axe between these two, sadly.
And that was actually Richard Means coming by as well. So that means he's already passed Richard Means, who's in 13th position, to put a lap on the 13th placed car. So he's already lapped 15 cars in this stint. A magnificent display from Leonard Hugenboom, albeit he's the pro driver against, for the most part, the amateur opposition, but that's what they were attempting to do in this first half of the race.
Let's hope John Hartshorne can still stay with Paolo Venarossi, because it'd be good to see that scrap continue until the pit stops. But with the leader and other cars arriving on scene, that has somewhat separated the Porsche from the Ferrari numbers 88 and 50.
It's also put the 77 into play, because that's right now on the tail of John Hartshorne. That's the second back.
But what about the leaders? 2.3 seconds. We asked the question about Leonard Hugenboom maybe pushing the car a bit too hard in the early part of the stint. Michelin tyres, although built for this length of race, may not have been treated too well. I wonder whether there might be some contact there. That was the 20 and
39, I
39
think.
car.
Two Normas. That is the recovering Eric Trullier. The two United cars, by the way, reverse positions again. Jim Maguire now again ahead of Nash Hussain. That's Eric Trullier, and he is now back up to where he's up to 5th position again.
Tony Wells tucked in behind.
He's got trouble. He's got trouble. There was contact.
Well, it's fair to say Eric Trullier has not treated that Norma M30 too well throughout the race. Contact on the opening lap, that wasn't his fault. There was then some barging and bumping between him and Michael Benham, and this has finished it off now with the front left part of the nose and the wheel arch starting to just tear away from the car.
Let's watch here how that happened. It was around the outside, wasn't it, which became the inside here, and then bang. That was the impact.
So it's front left corner, and now that pod, which holds the light on the light cluster on the front left corner, is starting to detach.
Yeah, the light goes out as the rubbing, I'm sure, took the... Oh, trouble for Lannon as well. Trouble for Lannon as well. Car 25 off and stopped at turn 3. So we're not, by the look of it, going to get a chance to see Duncan Tappy.
That car looks relatively straight, so I don't think it is contact, unless it's a legacy of the earlier bumping between Benham and Eric Trullier, which happened quite a bit of time ago.
Here is the other Castle Ferrari off track there with a look up the inside the EB Motors car. This is 77 in the hands of Claudio Schiavone. John Hartshorne has been dispatched, still in touch though. Schiavone looking for a quick way by the Porsche, which there is none yet. As you say though, Hartshorne looking to see whether or not he can come and play with this one too.
Well, remember they are Kessel Racing teammates, Schiavone and Hartshorne, so one could do the other a favour here. More LMP3s ganging up on this trio of GT3s as back to the pits, Eric Trullier to replace that very second-hand nose with a brand new part. It might not be graph coloured quite yet, it's all carbon. That car might be easier for us to spot from this point onward.
Here comes Schiavone, he looks to the outside, no room there to do it. He's got a little bit more confidence, hasn't he, than John Hartshorn on the brakes for the Ferrari.
Just to go back to the point about Eric Trouillet, sadly we haven't yet reached the pit window, so this will have to be the first of a couple of stops that car makes.
And the 25 car just about to safety, so we should see those double yellows withdraw in a few moments. It's being pulled. It's the all-black nose now. Will make it rather easy to pick this one out from the other graph cars. Eric Trouillet, fight back mode again.
Yeah, he's getting bored of this steadily.
Drops him out of the top 10 pretty firmly.
Well, here come 4 of the GT3s in this race. There are only 7 anyway, so to get all 4 of them on the same bit of straight is good going.
That is the leader. That's the leader coming up to lap 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Down towards Scene Corner comes the 88 Porsche then, soon to be lapped by the GT3 leader. It's Paolo Venerossi ahead of Schiavone, who's on the outside line now. If he can get this overtake done. Can he turn in, though? It's not quite finished off.
He does it. I think he has.
Excellent stuff.
Wow.
John Hartshorn says, God, I've been trying all race to do that. And you make it look so easy, but that's a different line for John. He might try and use that in a moment or two to get past the Porsche himself.
Well, through goes the leader on the Porsche as well. John Hartshorn, meanwhile, is all over the back of the Porsche again. So as a brief interlude, and now we're back to where we were, John. Begin.
Familiar territory. Unsurprisingly, the incident between Jean-Ludovic Foubert and Eric Trouillet is under investigation. That's where Trouillet did significant damage to the front left corner of his car, now back in the race, but that's going to be looked at again, and it might be that Trouillet is given a penalty because of that as well. We'll wait and see.
Now, thanks, by the way, to the rotation from John Ferrano. He too has fallen back behind the leader, so the leader has now passed everybody up to 9th, would you believe?
So Hugenboom's found more speed again.
Yep.
The gap came down to 2 seconds. It's now back up to 7.8, and that's an example of Nicolas Schatz basically encountering all the traffic that Leonard had to get by. So it's yin and yang, this traffic lark. Sometimes it goes in your favour, sometimes not, but guaranteed the guy trying to chase you down will have to get through that same bit of traffic. The United Autosports guys are having a tremendous race here. Clearly no team orders to keep things neat and tidy. They're allowed to race.
That's Jim Maguire going back ahead again, and I should say. So they'll have, I'm sure there'll be some fun banter after this one.
Very much so. Race to remember for Jim and Naj. Jim did the full season last year. Naj Hussain new to the championship. Not sure how many races he's going to be doing. Rather, it's his teammate Mahavir Raghunathan who is in for, I think, just one drive.
Just one, because Colin Brown, who will be the regular teammate aboard this car, is racing in IMSA this weekend at Long Beach, and goes by again.
Excellent. But great to have Mahavir, the Chennai-based driver, with us this weekend for a little guest cameo. An hour and 7 minutes to go.
Pretty sure there's another renowned race driver that comes from Chennai.
Yes, go on.
I've completely forgotten.
Just looking at me, aren't you? We'll have a think. I think we all know exactly who we're trying. My mind's gone blank because I'm in Michelin Le Mans Cup mode. Out of turn 14 goes the scrap then between the Porsche and the Ferrari. And 2 United Autosport cars with the DB Autosport Jean-Ludovic Foubert not very far away either. So over the line they go.
Karen Chandok.
I thought that's exactly who you meant. Sorry, Karun. He's been in our booth as well. That's embarrassing. For some guest commentary 2 years ago, I think it was, at Red Bull Ring. Hello, Karun.
Yeah, he's not doing anything terribly high profile now, is he?
No, that's probably why I've forgotten his name. We'll not live that down quickly.
No.
Sergio Pianazzola for Kessel Racing, leading GT3 and in 12th position overall now, with Christoph Ulrich in second place, the Spirit of Race car number 51. Claudio Schiavone, having got by those the Porsche and the Ferrari battle, Rossi and Hartshorn, now into a potential podium finish here. An hour and 5 minutes to go. We've also got an extra responsibility this year, Graham. I was told yesterday.
Have we?
We've got to come up with a Spirit of the Race award.
Have we?
For the press conference, I believe, because there's a little trophy to go with that for today's race and the European Le Mans Series race tomorrow. So get your thinking caps on. I'll be asking you in about an hour's time about that.
And by the way, I should say to any of the drivers and teams from the Michelin Le Mans Cup, we are completely incorruptible.
Yeah. See Graham at the DSC desk in the media centre. You can have a chat.
We'll work for food.
Anything.
Still on goes this fantastic little battle. Porsche and Ferrari. EB Motors car. Look, I like the look of that car. In comes, I think, what is going to be the first flurry of pit stoppers. 23 car in the hands of Richard Means from a fine 10th position. Also in John Ferrano from 11th, drops immediately to 12th. And others further down the order. Claudio Schiavone, the first of the GT cars to arrive.
And remember, it's a 10-minute pit lane window, effectively, because each of your two drivers has to do a minimum of 55 minutes. So they can run as far as 65 if necessary. But to get driver 2 in, and for the required amount of time, obviously the pit stop has to be done prior to an hour and 5 minutes of the race. We've had 55 minutes now. And as you say, first stoppers.
Christian England will now climb aboard that car.
More jostling of positions. And is that the Motorsport 98 car?
That is the Motorsport 98 car. Head of the battling pair of United Autosports. In, by the way, from third has come the CD Sport car, also in Alistair McCaig in the 79 and the DB Sports number 20. So this is going to get very hectic very, very quickly.
Hugenboom leads after nearly 30 laps. Next time through, that will be 3-0 completed. 8.6 seconds back to Nicolas Schatz for DB Autosport, and then Tony Wells, Anthony Pons now in the pit lane. Alistair McCaig still timed and scored as 5th ahead of Adrian Schiller, but we're about to see quite a bit of chopping and changing now in the race, not least differences in pace for the various cars as silver graded drivers, or gold in some cases, hand over to bronze and vice versa. Meanwhile,
fastest lap of the race goes to the leader, Bernard Hugenboom.
The N-Race cars under investigation for possible overtaking under yellow flags, and drama for the 88 crossing the white line at pit entry. So that was a late call at EB Motors to call Paolo Venarossi in, and it looks like he's crossed that solid white line on the way into pit lane.
Ouch.
You don't often, because that's a matter of fact, you don't often get away with that, but it will be looked at again. Meanwhile, down into Scene Corner go 2 of the Graf cars.
We can see which 2 they are.
We can now.
The 2 without the black nose on them.
And they're both Ligiers, although it's tricky from some camera angles to tell them apart because we're quite a bit away from the track.
Absolutely. They're running, by the way, 4th and 5th with the melee in pit lane. As in comes the 32, that's Naj Hussain, brings the car in.
So it will be Indian driver Mahavir Raghunathan to take that over for the American squad. And the leader stays out. Now, Hugenboom, being a silver rank driver, will push the envelope as far as possible.
Yeah, Tony Wells has made his way down pit lane in from 4th position, as is the 65 and the 44. So 1st and 2nd, the 3 and the 21 stay out. So does the 40 Graf car, Adrian Schiller. So does the 8 car, that is the GT3 leader. That car currently running in 7th overall, but owes us that stop. So this will start to wind itself out. First lap, by the way, the 151s. And that comes not from DK Engineering, but from Nico Schatz. As in comes Leonard Hugenboom.
Well, the car's at their lightest now, with very little fuel on board. Meanwhile, side by side here between the EB Motors and the Ferrari. Different drivers, though, bear in mind. So in the 88, we've now got Alessandro Beccani, and Ollie Hancock
Indeed.
is Hartshorn's teammate.
3 wide into scene. Oh, breathe in, boys.
Which way is this going to go? Well, Hancock knew he'd got space on the outside and gets rid of Bacani very neatly indeed. Bacani, remember, is a bronze-graded driver. Ollie Hancock with much more experience. So makes actually quick work of that as an LMP3 tries to go around the outside of Bacani at turn 8 and 9. That was brave, got forced off the road. Meanwhile, trying to get the tyre gun, the airline, stretching round the front of the car. That reminds me down in the local supermarket car park, trying to get to the rears when you've parked it at the wrong angle.
SPV Racing, Alvaro Fontes comes in from 6th position. John Hartshorn will be thinking, must ask Ollie how he did that.
Yeah. Has he been given a little bit of extra horsepower? Well, no, not really. It's just down to the exit out of 5 and 6, I suppose, to give you the optimum speed down the Mistral straight. We just ticked over half distance, Graham.
Yeah, it will turn out that that was the one place that John Hartshorn didn't actually try to overtake.
You can't admit that he, hadn't tried every other line around this place. Certainly tried all sorts of tricks in the book as Nicolas Schatz, still on board the 21 car, hurls his machine up the inside. Let's hope he doesn't need to make the pits this lap. No, he doesn't.
He's going around again. So he's the only car not to have pitted now that remains in the race.
Can squeeze one more lap out of it, and why would you not want to, with Nicolas Schatz, the quicker of the two drivers at DB Autosport, who'll be handing over to Jacques Wolf, I reckon, next time around.
I do apologise, there's one more that hasn't. It did pit, but for other reasons. That's the 39 car. Eric Trullier still out there as well in 4th.
And we had a drive-through for the 98 car, didn't we? So
he did, but that has had 2 stops. Andy Merrick is now aboard. Welsh Wizard Andy.
Yeah.
14th position in the Motorsport 98 car. Into has come the GT3 leader, now dropping then down the order and back into its correct relative position. Jens Pettersson, by the way, is now aboard the DKR engineering car and rolling. He has a 1 minute. No, we'll wait till they've actually come around, because the car behind him is in pit lane at the moment.
Lap 33 then for Nicolas Schatz, and we're expecting him to stop at the end of this one.
There he is.
The mandatory pit stop.
Norma at the back of this trio. That's the Ginetta, and ahead of that, Aligier. So all 3 chassis in shot briefly. There they are.
Great to have Ginetta as part of this field once more, after seeing them in the Road to Le Mans races.
Absolutely. Luca Magnoni is now aboard that car. The regular Nova Race customer drivers.
Yep, having taken over from Shinyo Sana, his Japanese co-driver. 57.5 minutes to go, and this is going to be the moment, I reckon, that Nicolas Schatz turns right. Yes, he does, hugging that Armco barrier. Needing to be careful on the entry that you don't leave the braking too late. It's quite a sharp right and left-hand turn, and then there is very little space indeed in the pit lane, but it helps if you just stop there at the first of the bays on the pit lane apron, neatly positioned.
This is going to be an interesting one, because he's going to have that long run down pit lane. Where is he going to come out in relation to this car? The chasing now number 3 of Jens Pettersson. He's in the final sector. I think Pettersson is going to retake the lead here. He is going to retake the lead because he's gone past the car now.
So those flashing lights on the back of that car
that's
all
rain
about.
lights. It's got the rain lights on.
I don't think it is raining. Now,
no.
Do you get a penalty for that if it's not raining?
I don't think so.
Okay. So the car is up to full speed. I thought for a moment there might be a pit lane speed limiter on the car, but it looks fine. Heading through turns 1 and 2.
He's got a big lead here, hasn't he?
Well, yes, and that was mainly built up by his teammate, Hugenboom. The question is, what is the speed going to be like for Jacques Wolf compared to Jens Pettersson?
No, he's not taken the lead yet. He was a lap down.
Oh, there we go. That makes much more sense. So, in fact, as the 3 car came in,
I think
he went off the lead lap, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
So I think.
I think that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's because
right.
what I was trying to work out is Nico Schatz had been mercurial for the last 10 minutes or so. So how could he possibly not?
Yeah. So the car comes down off the jacks. The final few seconds tick by. It's a minimum pit stop time.
It's a minimum pit stop time, but he's going to be on that minimum because they've got time to do it. Watching the watch. Through scene comes the number 3 car.
Yeah, so still got turns 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14 to negotiate, and then the number 3 car will be on a level par.
Now he's released, but he can't go full speed down the pit lane, remember?
No.
So it's going to be, how long does it take him to get to that green light and rejoin? How long does it take the number 3 car to get there at full racing speed? There's not going to be much in this, is there?
Eric Trouillet, a car that's released just in front of Nicolas Schatz as well.
So it's the second car in the queue coming out of pit lane, not that car, but the second car. There is the DKR car. He's going to see the car emerge in front of him. It's the length of the pit straight.
Jack Wolf in that 29 car then, taking that car over from Schatz, now leads the race. And, well, we'll get you a gap next time through Sector 1, which will be at full speed. It's a little bit deceptive with the car going at only 60 k's down the pit lane.
1, 2, 3, by the way, in GT now is all Ferrari. It's Kessel Racing, Giacomo Piccini. It is Maurizio Mediani in the number 51 Spirit of Race car, and it is Andrea Piccini and Ollie Hancock in the 2 Kessel cars, 77 and 50. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 now for Ferrari, but team managers from car 99 and 88, that's the EB Motors Porsche, and the 99 N-Race Ligier, been called to see race control.
So 4.3 seconds sounds about right, doesn't it, between Jack Wolf in the DB Autosport car and Jens Pedersen in the DKR engineering machine. So 21 from 3, then the 79 of Colin Noble, and Colin could be an awful lot quicker than the top 2. So we'll see whether he can start to reel in these runaway leaders. Then we have Morlini for the DB Autosport car in 4th place. But after that round of pit stops, let's get some reaction now from the pit lane with Charlie George.
Yeah, I'm down here with Sergio. He's a very happy guy. Just got out of that car and handed it over in the lead to Giacomo. Now, the most amazing story is this is only your 3rd race, but you do have experience, don't you?
Yes, my personal skill is rallying. I was a rally driver when I was a little bit younger. And for some reasons, and also because of my friend Giacomo and Andrea that is racing on the 77 car right now, I switched to the racetrack, and I had the chance to experience a lot with Ferrari Challenge, and then since a couple of seasons, I'm testing with the GT3. Better, I had the chance to drive once the Gulf 12 hours in 2016, and last year we did repeat the experience with the 77 crew, with the same car. We won the Pro-Am, and so this season I have this chance to attend to the Le Mans Cup together with Giacomo at the moment, but we are going to wait in my friend Deborah that is going to coming back, and I will share the car with her later in the season as soon as she will recover and she will be ready to go.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Sergio Pianazzola handing the car over then to Giacomo Piccini, and we talk about this only being his 3rd race as such, but as pointed out. Oh, right, 3rd GT race.
Sounded that way to me.
Well, Ferrari Challenge is a high standard, can be, wherever you do it around the world. Graham's doing the international symbol of another overtake. Tell us about it.
It's an overtake to the lead. Jens Pedersen has caught and passed the DB Autosport car, the number 21 car, and is pulling away again. Now, in terms of what kind of advantage does this pair have over a chasing pack, the answer is over a minute. Colin Noble is now running in 3rd position in the number 79 Kyrgios Nielsen squad. There we have it on screen. 1 minute 10 seconds back from the leader. 1 minute 15 seconds back is the number 20 DB Autosport. Everybody else, it says there, but it's actually that's not correct. It's just at the point at which the timing was taken. Over a minute and 20 seconds back. So it is DKR from DB, Kyrgios Nielsen, number 79, then the DB20, then the second of the Nielsen cars, the Kyrgios cars, number 2. First the Graf cars, 65, SPVs 44, the 40 Graf machine, CD Sports in the 30 car, RLR round out the top 10.
Just to make the point clear, you were about to say everybody else a lap behind, but actually we were waiting for a few more to come across the line. But it's a significant margin.
It is.
We've had an awful lot of action for the first hour and 10 minutes, and this was the start in beautiful sunshine. Temperatures approaching 20 degrees Celsius and 5 abreast. Would you want any more than that heading down to the first corner? Tony Wells sniffing a chance of the race lead, not quite pulling it off to get ahead of Eric Trouillet, and then sadly down at turn 3 on the opening lap there was contact between Eric and Tony, nerfing Trouillet's car into a spin, and Tony Wells then taking the race lead. And then we were treated to a battle between Tony and Leonard Hugenboom, a bronze graded driver up against a silver, and Hugenboom didn't take too long at all for DKR Engineering to get by. Then a big off for Tony Wells. Thankfully he kept it out of the barrier and actually straightened the car up very swiftly indeed. Got back into the race but had lost 2 or 3 places. This was him getting in front of teammate Alistair McCaig, and Alistair giving him plenty of racing room. But those two Ikuria Kost Nielsen cars have stayed with each other for much of the rest of the race. They've started to separate now. There was contact between Michael Benham and a recovering Eric Trouillet, with the 44 SPV car almost caught up in that battle. And more contact for the Eric Trouillet car, and this resulted in big damage for the front left corner, clattering into the side there of Jean-Ludovic Foubert. We've now had pit stops to change all of these drivers. That was the moment then that the light pod on the front left corner, which also forms the part of the wheel arch as well, broke free from the car. It required a brand new nose. The car pitted at the end of that lap. Brief glimpse there of the GT3 leader. Here is the number 3 car then, Leonard Hugenboom, who missed his pit bay rather, and needed to be wheeled back into position by the crew. We'd missed that at the time, and now we have brand new drivers at the wheel of all of these cars. So Jens Pettersson is now driving the number 3 car, still in the lead by 4.7 seconds from Jacques Wolf in the 21 DB Autosport car. But Colin Noble is a little quicker certainly than Jack Wolf. The similar speed though between Noble and Pettersson, but it's difficult to read this because obviously all these cars are encountering traffic with every lap too. In clear air, Colin Noble would be quicker than Pettersson, but it's a question of whether that gap of a minute is too much to make up now.
It's about 3 or 4 seconds in clear air for the chasing pack with 48 minutes to go. That's going to close up. Yes. Meantime, we've had a couple of drive-through penalties assessed. One for car 88 for crossing that pit entry white line. That's the EV Motors Porsche. That car is running 5th at the moment in the GT3 class. And also for the number 99 car, that's the N-Race car for overtaking under yellow. That car currently running 21st overall, 19th in the LMP3 class. But to give you an idea of the closure and pace here, Jens Pettersson last time around, I think his quickest lap we've seen from him so far, a 1:56.6. Wolf in the DB Autosports Norma, the 21 car, 1:59. The pack behind, all the 54s or indeed the 53s, and around 67 to 77 seconds back. So let's keep an eye on how quickly that gap can close.
36 laps completed and 47.5 minutes to go. This is what happened then in the opening phases of the race. Big moments, 3 of them really, for Eric Trouillet, which resulted in damage to the nose of the 39 car. The TKS Ginetta making its stop, and Shinyo Sana handing over to co-driver Luca Magnoni. An example of the various nationalities we have taking part in the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year. And over the line go some of the key players in this race. 7.7 seconds is the gap between Jens Pettersson and Jacques Wolf. This is the re-nosed 39 car then. Eric Trouillet handing over to son Adrien Trouillet.
That is unlapping himself once from the 21 car, Adrien Trouillet, and presumably then heading off in pursuit of Jens Pettersson. Now, Adrien Trouillet last time around at 1:58 by the look of it. But that will have been because of the traffic, if you like, that Jens Wolf actually represented. Keeping still an eye on the relative pace of that chasing pack. They are taking 4 or 5 seconds a lap out of that DB Autosport car in second.
And Nicola Molini, a man we've not mentioned an awful lot about, has taken over the DB Autosport car, by the way, from Jean-Ludovic Foubert, and that car in 4th position, with James Littlejohn in pursuit. It's just under 7 seconds, the gap between Molini and the Brit.
In GT, meanwhile, we've not mentioned the GT battle for a little wee while. 14th position overall for the leading number 8 Castellet racing car. This is the pit wall equipment. It's a car in the hands of Giacomo Capuccini and has quite some gap. It's something like, what is that, 40 seconds gap over Maurizio Mediani in the Spirit of Race number 51 car, with the Castellet Racing number 77 in the hands of the older of the two, Puccini Bros, in 3rd position. Some 9 seconds ahead of Ollie Hancock, and Ollie pacing Andrea Puccini. As into the pits comes one of the Ferraris at 71 again. It's been a dreadful race for those guys, hasn't it? I think this might be Puccini actually handing the car over. This is the 4th pit stop in the race so far.
Joop van Uitert, by the way, in the number 14 car now, unlapping himself, so that looked like a battle for the lead. In fact, it wasn't, because Jens Pettersson retains the lead from Jacques Wolf. There are an awful lot of quick pedalers behind, now catching these 2 cars up.
Pit stop of the Trullier family effort in the Graf 39 car is under investigation. The team manager is car 71 to the race director, it seems. So perhaps not happy with something that's either happened on track or on pit lane. We will wait and see.
Graf Ligier side by side with the TKS Ginetta Juno, and TKS are currently in the 17th position in car number 96. That's the 40 car lapping the TKS machine. And what happened here? A spin for the 20. Yes, 2-0 going straight on.
4th place car.
So that's big news for Nicola Molini, as not for the first time the 71 Ferrari is in the pits, as Graham's mentioned. The team manager of that car being sent to the race director as well.
That's big news too for Kyrgios Nielsen, because their 2 Ligiers are now at up into 3rd and 4th position, minute and 2 and a minute and 10 seconds respectively off the lead.
Yeah, so that was a spin for Molini at turn 9, I think, the entry into the hairpin immediately after Scene corner. We've seen quite a number of cars having problems into that fast right-hander at the end of the Mistral, but it was the next corner round that Molini made the error. So Londoner James Littlejohn now following Colin Noble, but we've got about 8 seconds to try and find before we have the 2 Kyrgios Nielsen cars together. DB Autosport rejoined in 5th position after that spin, and then Della Fosse for Graf Racing in 6th place. So, DKR Engineering lead with Jens Pettersson at the wheel. Let's grab a word with his teammate, Leonard Hugenboom, now with Charlie George.
Yeah, I'm down at DKR Engineering. Leonard, for your first stint in Michelin Le Mans Cup, you must be very happy with that.
Yes, we started at P5, and the first couple of laps we did some good overtaking, and then P1 is really good. And then after that we had a little bit of traffic and overtake as much as possible. But so now we're still P1, as we hope for the best.
Now, of course, DKR Engineering as a team are the reigning champions. Is the goal to keep that and maintain the championship?
Yeah, it's always the goal, but it's always hard to say. Yeah? But we go for the best.
Thank you, and welcome to the championship.
Thank you very much.
Well, you could say he's picked the right team, because they have good form in recent years in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. There's only been 1 winner so far in the LMP3 category, and it is the Luxembourgish team. So let's see how the 3 gets on this year, but they've started very well. The question is, has Colin Noble got enough of the race left to try and reel in the top 2? I think certainly for Jacques Wolf, this is going to be a close battle.
It's going to be close. Just under 42 minutes left. He's catching Jacques Wolf by something around 4 seconds a lap. And if he can maintain that, I think he'll certainly get there. But just a word for Leonard Hugenboom. That was a very focused hour or so of track action from him. Very clear what the tactic was. Go really, really quickly, I think is what it came down to. And he did that in a very convincing way for the full hour on track, putting a lap on everybody bar the top 10 before handing over to Jens Pettersson, who, by the way, is putting in some very good laps in the 55s. At this rate of closing, he is not going to be caught. But you're right, absolutely right. Jacques Wolf may well be under rather more pressure. 47 seconds now ahead from Colin Noble, with James Littlejohn a further 9 seconds further back. So let's keep an eye on how this is all panning out. There are a lot of very quick guys in the lower order of the top 10 and indeed the higher order of the teens closing fast, he could find himself absolutely swamped.
Yeah, they're coming, aren't they, steadily and surely. You can't quite tell that just yet, but you know, compare average lap times with the second and the third place, or rather the third and the fourth place cars with the two leaders, and there's quite a difference there. And this is the beauty of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, with the different driver experiences, different driver talents. You've got semi-pros up against non-pros, gentlemen drivers who just go racing as an extra part to their career. Effectively, they may be successful in other areas of business and choose to come racing for 7 events through the course of the year, with eyes, no doubt, all of them on racing at Le Mans 24 hours one day.
So there's the battle for, well, effectively the podium positions here. There's also an interesting battle developing just outside the top 10 between two of the United Autosports cars, and sandwiched by them is the Motorsport 98 car. Christian England and the Merrick Matt Bell separated by about 20 seconds. And Merrick and Bell almost together on track, with Merrick ahead of the Newcastle man in his 100th race for United Autosports. He'll be looking to squeeze the best result he possibly can. They are amongst the quickest of all on track, that trio, at the moment. So let's wait and see what happens there too. Yep, Van Eetert, meanwhile, in the 52s. After he's got a little bit more of a job to do after John Ferrano had that bit of a whoopsie towards the end of his stint. But Van Eetert, who put in a fine run in qualifying in the European Le Mans Series, running 10th. He's 1 minute and 47 seconds off the leader, but he's 14 seconds back from the number 30 CD Sport car last time around. Well, it did take a little bit of time out of them, but it's just intense at the moment. Quickest man on circuit at the moment, though, is Joop van Uitert, just bettered, as I say that, by Matt Bell.
1:53.3, a very good time there from Colin Noble in third position. His best, the car's best of the race. James Littlejohn 10 seconds now adrift of his teammate, but that's the swings and roundabouts nature of meeting traffic. Sometimes you'll get a bit of clear air, sometimes you'll have to bide your time, be patient, and realise you're not going to win the lap or in the race on this single lap. Better to just follow some slower GT3 traffic through the tighter corners and wait for your opportunity on the main straight or the Mistral. Other drivers finding speed include, in the number 40 car, Marc-Antoine Danilou of France, taking the Graf car over from Adrian Schiller. So Danilou impressive in that 8th placed car, and Van Uitert we've mentioned an awful lot about in the RLR M Sport car. So close here between the 20 and the 65, and this is Damien Delafosse, also of France, trying to reel in the driver of number 20, Nicolas Molini keeping that car as wide as possible, but it might be a question of accepting the inevitable here. Delafosse looks to be quicker in this phase of the race. In the 44 car, it was Alvaro Fontes earlier on, handing now to Ricardo Sanchez, the Mexican driver, who is ranked as silver, so he's quicker than his teammate. And Sanchez in the background in the bright yellow SPV machine. One to look out for possibly in the final half an hour and a bit of this race.
Yeah, again, we've got, what, 5 cars within about 11-12 seconds, with Sanchez not quite at the back of that train. So that relative pace between some of these, well, more experienced amateurs or pro racers beginning to tell now, and we're beginning a bit of a cluster of LMP3 cars back together here.
Certainly are. There's the TKS, and that's Van Uitert just behind, so not on the same lap, these two cars. 51 is the second of the GT3s, with Maurizio Mediani effectively trying to hunt down Giacomo Piccini, but the margin is great between the Kessel Racing Ferrari and the Spirit of Race example. Kessel looking like a really good result for them here, the Swiss team, with Andrea Piccini in the 77, Ollie Hancock in the 50 car. There's 11 seconds separating those GT3 runners. Alessandro Beccani can't live with the speed of the silver graded drivers around him. That's one of a few in the field utilising a double bronze driver lineup.
40 seconds now the gap, by the way. Colin Noble closing in on the DB Autosport car for second place. And if anything, that rate of closure has eased off a little bit. And that's not necessarily because Colin Noble has been off the gas. It's because Jens Wolf is actually finding just a little bit more pace. That's bad news for the guys following him.
Bit of a wiggle there from Damien Delafosse. That might be due to the lack of air going over the car cleanly. You remember it's flowing over the car in front and getting disrupted, and then not really flowing over the Ligier behind as the designer intended. So you can get, just as you would do in a single-seater category, that dirty air effect, which means the car in pursuit all of a sudden loses a lot of its downforce. Darting from left to right there, is that Matt Bell?
That is Matt Bell.
Yes, in the 22. Just sort of took on a character of Matt Bell somehow in his 100th race. So I've watched a number of races with the Geordie as part of it.
This is looking to unlap himself from the second place car overall. He's just done that. So Matt's on a mission. Well, his first mission is to catch Andy Merrick, who is just the next car ahead. So this is a battle of position between the red and black Motorsport 98 machine. And Matt Bell in the aero-liveried silvered blue red and white machine. And a battle for 12th position, separated at the moment by just about a second.
Alessandro Pacani just up ahead in the EB Motors Porsche, about to be lapped by probably all four of these cars in due course. The Norma in the background is the 21 of Jacques Wolf.
Yeah, the car in the foreground, by the way, is the Brookspeed number 4, Nico Ronde. It's the man at the wheel of that car in the top 20 now. The Brookspeed car having a very conservative run here. Some problems in the earlier part of the week with well, a bit of an off that caused some damage to drive shafts of that car, which cost them some track time. Well, getting into the groove. I think we'll see them move up through the order through the season, but great to have Brookspeed back. Colin Noble, meanwhile, puts in his fastest lap of the race. He must have been listening. Now 34.9 seconds back from the 21 car.
This, I understand, is just a one-off appearance for Nicolas Ronde, by the way, because it'll be Jordan Sanders for the rest of the year.
Oh, no, there's a quick man.
At Brookspeed International Motorsport. Hugely impressive during the prototype races at the start of the year in Dubai, for the 3x3 prototype series events there. And yes, looking forward to seeing Jordan as part of the Michelin Le Mans Cup from Monza onwards. Down to Scene Corner goes the Molini-driven DB Autosport car, and now trying to slot up the inside.
That's a that was a three-way contact. Maybe even been 4 as the Brookspeed car came through.
The problem was the gap was closing by the DB Autosport machine of Nicola Molini, and trying to slot up the inside Damien Delafosse. All of a sudden Molini had to make room, as was there nearly contact for the race leader here as well.
There was very nearly contact for the race leader. Was there indeed contact for the race leader? Who's going to be here and has to duck out of it? That's the 39 car going off. Pretty wild there, I'm afraid, from Adrien.
And that was Christian England as well, managing to sneak through and I think gain, well, certainly one place and unlap himself on the leader as well. But yeah, that moment a short couple of seconds ago was Delafosse trying to slot up the inside then of Nicola Molini. And Molini, as he made space for a charging Delafosse, nearly cleaned out one of the Ferraris on his outside. So 3 abreast into that corner was always going to be tricky to make. And I think we've got probably 3 slightly damaged cars. Let's hope they all make it to the finish. Not to the extent that bodywork is hanging off, but they won't be handling quite as well as they were a couple of moments ago.
Clattered on the wheels as well, which is never a good thing.
Sensitive areas.
Yeah, shock transferred back through gearboxes, never very good news. Let's wait and see. Fingers crossed that they can all make it reliably and at pace to the flag. We have 31 minutes remaining. Colin Noble, by the way, is making a liar off me. He's just put in a second consecutive fastest lap of the race for the number 79 car. Fastest lap for that car is the process of doing a 3rd in a row. The gap is now 31 seconds to Jens Wolf. Jens Wolf now 17.8 seconds back from the leader.
Meanwhile, there's the Motorsport 98 car of Andy Merrick and Matt Bell tucked in behind. Expect these 2 cars to probably be with each other to the end of the race now, because Merrick's not going to make it easy for Bell. and looks to be extremely rapid into turn 3 and now 4 and 5, which follow very quickly. If anything, the more pointy of the cars looks to be Matt's, I would say, slightly more manoeuvrable. And the 22 car, remember, was with the 23 for the bulk of the opening stint. There's a bit of a gap now as the drivers have been switched. So Christian England taking over the 23 that was started by Richard Mines, and the Jim Maguire car handed over to Matt Bell. And Christian England was, as I say, very close to being involved with that incident at turn 5 not too long ago, when the leader was nearly cleaned out by a hard-charging Danny Liu. So Jens Pettersson leads by 19 seconds. This is lap 46. We've got half an hour pretty much still to go.
I think we've had a problem somewhere for Damien Delafos, because he dropped a couple of positions on that lap. 65 down to 7th, and a slower lap time, about 10 seconds off where you'd have expected him to be. So I think he's had a brief sojourn, as it were.
Yes, final sector looks suspicious, doesn't it? It's about 9 seconds slower than anybody else going through that area of the track.
Keep an eye on that pace. Let's hope it's not a result of the earlier argy-bargy.
Well, there is Delafos, and he's being pursued by Danny Liu, his teammate. So 65 and 40 are, yes, separated by 0.6 of a second, and right behind is Laurens Huhr, the German driver, as all of a sudden Joop van Uitert sets the best first sector of anybody in the RLR M Sport car. So he's charging up the order, 10th place so far for the Dutchman.
Well, 10 seconds would see him gain 3 places. 10 seconds gained would see him gain 3 places in this order. 152.749 last time around. What can he do this time? A little bit of clear air. He's got a 10-second gap to catch up with Laurens Huhr. 20, by the way, team manager called to race control. Here's Nicola Malini involved in that 3-way tussle. The gap now, by the way, Colin Noble to Jens Wolf is 26.2 seconds.
And Ricardo Sanchez not very far away now from Nicola Malini either, so we may have a change for 5th place in the not too distant future. 2.1 seconds is the gap. There's the number 22 car of Matt Bell, who is still just 0.4 of a second behind Andy Merrick, and that change has happened with Ricardo Sanchez now ahead of Nicola Molini, who slips to 6th.
Meanwhile, it's further bad news for the 39 car. We'll drive through penalty for a pit stop infringement for that team. Comes that trio of B3 cars. 2 Graf cars trying to chase down CD Sport car.
So out of turn 2 goes this little battle, including the 30 machine of Laurens Huhr and the 2 Graf cars, Delafos and Danny Liu. Then it's Joop van Uitert in the number 14 car. Christian England comes next in the 23, 11th place. Then Andy Merrick and Matt Bell more or less attached to one another. And then the leading GT3 machine of Giacomo Piccini, the Kessel Racing Ferrari car, number 8 in that deep pink and dark blue Ferrari.
Puts in the fastest lap of his race that time around, Giacomo Piccini in that 14th position. He's being caught by the number 32 car, the 3rd of the United Autosports machines.
Joop van Uitert in the background, I noticed there, for RLL M Sport, so an indication of quite how close he's getting now to the 2 Graf runners, Delafos and Danny Liu. Out of turn 9 they go, and Van Uitert will appear in a moment or two in the RLR colours. DKR Engineering, though, still lead the way. Another 3 or 2 and a bit laps, and we'll be up to the 50 mark.
Looking very comfortable there as well. Into the 54s from Jens Pettersson.
Bit of a lock-up there from the 2nd of the Graf Ligiers, I noticed. Just going a bit too hot into turn 11.
Kajocci is the latest man to be called down pit lane for a drive-through penalty.
Matt Bell having to get out of that manoeuvre on the Brookspeed International car. Nicola Ronde giving him absolutely no room whatsoever, even though that was lappery taking place. These cars are not on the same lap. Matt Bell, yes, a full lap ahead effectively, looking to go a further lap in front of Nicola Ronde, but had to back out of that move. An extra pit stop for Nicola Molini.
That's going to cost them. He's going to drop back out of the top 10.
Meanwhile, Damien Delafosse and Danny Liu trying to get through the Ferrari, past the Ferrari number 50, I think that is, of Ollie Hancock. Everyone just about making room for one another. Back onto the Mistral.
Vanita, by the way, yet another fastest, outright fastest first sector of the race, 33.025. He's now under 6 seconds back from the Graf pair.
Colin Noble also finding time as well. So the top three relatively equally spaced now. 22 seconds, I make it Pettersson to Wolf. A further 22, Wolf to Noble. And he's got 25 minutes as Colin Noble to try and get better than third. A 152.939, his best lap of the race, will certainly help.
That's 4 seconds quicker than the car he's chasing. 20 seconds is the gap. And that pressure is beginning to pay, isn't it? It's beginning to tell.
James Littlejohn's not very far away from that speed either. The gap between the two Ecurie Kost Nielsen drivers has been about 10 seconds since it opened up to that margin quickly after the pit stops, and now it's stabilised. Ricardo Sanchez is offering about the same sort of speed as well. Laurence Heur might be one to improve before anybody else. 6 seconds is that margin, and he's down in the 153 flats. 152.9 Colin Noble, so he's the quickest of the top 10, but Joop van Uitert's not very far away in the RLR Motorsport car.
And closing quickly. The battle between the two Graf cars has not helped their endeavour to get away from Joop van Uitert. He's now under 5 seconds back. We've got 24 minutes left of the race. Van Uitert, though, has got to deal now with the traffic that, of course, this pair had already dealt with.
Still half a second between Andy Merrick and Matt Bell. I'm sure they're thoroughly enjoying this, but Matt would like to be by and to improve his finishing position by one more for a 100th United Autosports race.
Yeah, 11th and 12th overall for that pair. I mean, well, with the delay for the DP Autosport car, Molini now back in. What we're watching here.
That is Christian England.
Bit of a lock-up there for Christian.
Yeah, into the first corner. Meanwhile, here's the other United Autosports car then, chasing down Andy Merrick.
The Ginetta just ahead of them. Car running in 18th position overall with Luca Magnoni. Just having just done its fastest lap of the race. But Colin Noble, 17 seconds this time, and another fastest lap for the Scots.
So 79, third position, and now opening up a little bit of a gap on teammate James Littlejohn as well. 11.5 seconds, the gap from third to fourth. 16.8 seconds, the margin. Noble to Jacques Wolf. The race win might be just out of his grasp, but second place, highly possible here. 152.7. from Colin Noble, who is hustling that car. There's been a change in the order for the Graf cars, I notice, because Danny Liu is now ahead of teammate Damien Delafosse, 65 car. He noted that Delafosse might just be off the edge of the earlier pace for that machine. And he's about to be joined by Joop van Uitert as well.
4.5 seconds back now, Van Uitert. Christian England is quicker than any of them ahead of him, but he's a full 23 seconds away. Meantime, the Motorsport 98 United Autosports train rolls on. Matt Bell has a cheeky look up the inside. Andy Merrick's having none of that. Sticks to his line, keeps to the plan, and we continue in exactly the same vein that we've had for lap after lap after lap. I think you might well have been right, Johnny, when you said they might well be together for the rest of this race.
I didn't imagine Andy Merrick would give him one slither of an opportunity. So it's going to have to be earned here by Matt Bell. They offer such great speed, these two. And there's obviously an optimum speed. You know, there's a point where you just cannot drive any faster in these Ligiers without falling off the track. And these two will find that marker and stay at it for pretty much all of their stint. So where is the opportunity here for Matt Bell? It's probably going to be in traffic, being able to read the situation just a couple of metres back from where Andy Merrick sits. But he's so experienced, Andy, in all manner of sports cars around the world. Originally from Swansea, the Welsh Wizard, as Graham's already deemed him. And Matt Bell from, so it's a true Welsh-English battle, this.
Yep, but Matt Bell is the younger and hairier of the two Bell brothers. Rob Bell, of course, his elder brother.
Hairier on top, do you mean?
Particularly,
yeah.
That's all I know about. But certainly, yeah, Rob's certainly the shinier-headed of the two Bell brothers.
But no less quick.
No less quick.
That. Possibly quicker, you might say. So out of the right-hander goes turn 12. The battle between Merrick and Matt Bell. And then the race leader's not very far away either, so they're going to unlap themselves in a moment or two, catching Jens Pettersson. There he is in the distance, in fact, heading under the gantry. And in 20 minutes' time, there will be a checkered flag waved in roughly that sort of area. So I reckon these two will finish on the lead lap, because Jens Pettersson, as quick as he is, not quite as fast as these two. This might be Matt's opportunity, actually, catching a quickish leader, but not as quick as these two.
Not able really at that point to pick his line, is he? He's got to take account of what Jens Pettersson is going to do. But these are certainly quicker at the moment.
So into turn 5 they go. And we're going to get an opportunity now to head into the Ikuriakos Nielsen crew to have a word with Tony Wells after an eventful race for him at the start of this event.
Yeah, I'm down here with Tony, a familiar face from last season, and perhaps a glutton for punishment. You're doing both championships again, both the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the LMS.
Yeah, well, it's a nice way to finish Saturday afternoon, isn't it? So I enjoyed Michelin Cup last year, so I wanted to do it again, and I'm back in the car with James from Radical Days, so yeah, we're having a laugh.
A frustrating opening stint for you, though.
Well, a bit bittersweet, wasn't it? It was a great start, got the lead, and then completely over-optimistic into scene. I was in 6th and I didn't really brake enough and I lost the back. And that was a shame because, well, obviously you were away and, you know, we probably had a chance to win and got stuck in the traffic. It took me ages to get past Adrian Chiller, and then you just backed up into the traffic, aren't you? But you know, James is doing all right. I don't think we're going to quite get the podium, but, you know, considering what an exciting corner that was, then we're doing all right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, he actually recovered the moment pretty swiftly, and to lose only 8 seconds, you know, he'd be kicking himself right now, but he'll realise it could have been a lot worse. You don't have a small moments at Scene Corner,
no,
generally speaking.
No, you don't. Ask Thomas Enger how big a moment you can have at Scene Corner.
Yes.
So there's still bits of that on my office wall. But all of a sudden, the rate of closing, by the way, for Colin Noble has just eased off a little. It's now 12.8 seconds, the gap. 17, just about 18 minutes left in this race. He's still taking a second and a half out of that lead, but again, Jens Wolf has just upped the ante a little bit, so it could get exciting. Let's wait and see how that one winds out. Meantime, Merrick and Bell still having that bromance back in 11th and 12th position for the Motorsport 98 and the 22 United Autosport squad. That could go either way, couldn't it? It's going to be traffic if it happens. But,
I think that's right, but at the moment it's tough to pick a winner in that little private battle. Likewise, Laurence Heur condensing things nicely for 5th position, and Heur is through, isn't he? Yes, he is. There he is in the 30 car, trying to slot up the inside now of the GT3 leader, trying not to affect Giacomo Piccini's race, but the 30 car is now ahead of the 44. And who's that in between? 79, not on the same lap.
It's the 17, I think, isn't it? That's
is it?
The LGP car.
Okay.
I think it is.
Rather than Colin Noble.
I don't think that's Colin.
Okay. You're right, it is the 17. Graham's been here all week, in fairness, to be able to pick these
it
cars
does look
apart.
remarkably like Ikuriakos' colours, I will certainly give you that.
I'll learn them by the end of the year. RGP Motorsports, and we haven't mentioned a great deal about that crew. From Italy, and Marco Cencetti now doing the driving. He's a silver.
15th position for that crew at the moment. Another one of the newcomers this season, and they are very welcome. Here's the race leader, though, and behind him, he's got the two battling Brits, and he's not been closer than this. Matt Bell is looking up the inside this time, takes the opportunity, and I think he's going to make it. This is going to be... Oh, he doesn't. Matt Bell couldn't quite make it. Looks to the outside this time. Oh,
trying it, but Andy Merrick
Off he
gave
goes.
him,
Oh!
Merrick's off the track. Now he's not fully off, and he caught lots of curb and
That
has
one-
carried momentum, actually.
that would have caught his attention. Dear me.
I didn't think Merrick gave him an awful lot of racing room down the main straight. I don't think he changed line.
I'm not quite sure he kept that car.
No.
On the straight and narrow. That
No.
thing was certainly airborne for a moment or two.
Well, yeah, out of turn 2, certainly, but Matt Bell had tried down the left, realised Andy Merrick wasn't playing games here, wasn't going to allow him through, so then tried down the right-hand side and nearly pulled off the move around the outside of turn 1. That led to Andy Merrick running out wide of 2 in the end, and this is
Van Aert.
Joop van Aert
Has he gone ahead?
of
He hasn't.
into Scene Corner. I'm not sure whether that was a move for position. Let's enjoy this again, though, because Matt Bell trying around the outside at turn 1. That meant that Andy Merrick was offline into 2 and ran out so wide on the run down to 3 and, well, was almost tearing bits from the underneath of the car there. So much curb did he catch. I don't think that's going to be handling quite as well as before.
No, I think if you'd have had the in-car radio feed there, you'd have learned some choice words in Welsh. And I think actually Matt Bell possibly just ducked out of that, either because it was going to be quite entertaining or because he didn't want to be caught up in what it looked like at several points might be one of the biggest accidents in the world. Somehow Andy Merrick came out the other side.
Through 12, through 13, we might be treated to very similar shenanigans this time around. They're caught up behind the race leader again.
What we've missed, by the way, while watching all that, is that Jens Wolf has had a moment somewhere because he's lost second place. He's lost second place to Colin Noble.
Oh, Matt Bell and Andy Merrick are side by side this time, leaving nothing on the table. And Merrick's going to be, is he too hot into one? No, he's managed to get it stopped and turned. And this is all happening in the rearview mirror of Jens Pettersson. He's saying, come on, leave me alone, guys. Just overtake and I'll continue in the race lead. That's the 4 coming to a halt. Nicolas Rondet at the wheel of the Brookspeed International Ligier. And sadly, grinding to a halt is this car. Fire extinguisher at the ready from the marshal as well. Concerned maybe about a lick of flame from the rear of that car, which is quickly extinguished. So Jens Pettersson leads the race by 35.2 seconds from Colin Noble, but he's about to be unlapped again, or rather the 2 cars behind him will unlap themselves on the 3 car.
It was a spin in turn 5 for Jens Wolf. That's now left him at the mercy of James Littlejohn, who could now find himself on the podium. We heard from Tony Wells a little earlier. He didn't think they'd make it. Well, he's now 7.9 seconds back. And let's see what Jens Wolf has got left in the tank here with a charging James Littlejohn. 13 minutes left.
So Jens Pettersson very wide indeed, heading through turn 8. Meanwhile, Andy Merrick and Matt Bell trying to find an opportunity to get by. Yellow flags are out. Now, are they into that yellow flag zone now? No, it's at turn 1, OK. As the GT3 leader, car number 8, driven by Giacomo Piccini, leads the way.
This is Joop van Aert. He's now with the second of the Graf cars. In fact, he's passed Delafosse. He's now with the first of them. There's Danielu here. This was the spin for the 21 car. Did he jump or was he pushed?
Or was that, well, that's Noble getting through, wasn't it? Or was that the 17
that's him
again,
recovering from the spin. That's what it was.
OK, by which point Colin Noble had already got by and into second place, and now 34.4 seconds to try and find. I think that's unlikely in the remaining 12 minutes. A good run out of turn 2 this time for Andy Merrick, trying to slot up the inside of Jens Pettersson. And Matt Bell's going to try and do the same thing. He doesn't want to lose touch with Andy Merrick. Forced the issue somewhat into turns 3 and 4, and Jens Pettersson had little choice but to make some room for the northeasterner from the UK. And, well, they got through, but that's driven a little bit of a wedge now between Merrick and Matt Bell. I'm sure he'll be able to make that time up again.
We mean in terms of time, and of course not their close personal friendship, that wedge. But the lead gap, by the way, now down to just 34 seconds. It's not going to be done on pace. But Colin Noble's pressure is beginning to make an impact on that lead. He's going to run out of time. Jens Wolf is a further 5 seconds back. Littlejohn is closing and has just put in the fastest lap time of the race for the number 2 Courier-Cost Nielsen car. 5.4 seconds the gap. Took 2.6 seconds out last time around.
Out of turn 14 goes the number 30 car. Lawrence Her has driven a good race to this point for CD Sport. That was a car, remember, that started on the front row with Anthony Pons. Great qualifying performance from him at lunchtime today. The car slipped down the order but is slowly being hustled back to the top of the times and to 5th place. And there is Joop van Uitert in hot pursuit then of the second Graf car that he's going to encounter, but actually the best place of the French machines, yes, with Marc-Antoine Danilou at the wheel.
This for 7th position now, Johnny, and just looking to see what's the next. Well, it's another 7.5 seconds to get onto terms with Ricardo Sanchez. I think that's beyond Joop van Uitert at this stage of the race. Just 10 minutes remain. We can see the gap there as the Mexican driver just disappears out of our shot to the right. Here comes the battle behind him.
Brief glimpse of Andrea Piccini as well, on course for a podium finish in the GT3 category. 10 minutes to go then. And the run down towards the right-hander at the end of the Mistral, with the 40 of Danilou being caught here by Joop van Uitert. And then behind that car is, well, Delafosse has dropped a few times. Van Uitert up the inside.
That's a great move.
Gets it for RLRM Sport.
That will have pleased him particularly because that was where track limits probably cost him the opportunity to be on the potentially even the front row of the grid for the LMS race in LMP3. Nailed it that time though, the young Dutchman.
Yeah. As Pettersson on lap 57 leads by half a minute now over Colin Noble. Still in the 153, so eating away at that lead margin. 9 minutes to go. Jens Pettersson, Colin Noble, Jacques Wolf, and then James Littlejohn. So both of the Acuria Kost Nielsen cars looking like they'll finish in the top 4. Lawrence Her just a bit too far back for CD Sport. SPV Racing and Ricardo Sanchez in 6th place in the number 44 car. Then Van Uitert ahead of Marc-Antoine Danilou, Damien Delafosse and Christian England in the number 10. In the number 65, number 23 rather, 10th place. 8 minutes and 40 seconds to go. There's the GT3 leader, Giacomo Piccini for Kessel Racing. And the bulk of the GT3 entry this weekend, Ferrari 488. There's the Ferrari 458 from Stila F Squadra Corsa, sadly no longer running. The other car is a Porsche from EB Motors, but it's looking like Ferrari's first, second, third and fourth at the moment.
Just watching Andy Merrick's pace, he's just been the fastest lap of his car's race, the Motorsport 98 car. Just tenths in it still between the lap times and the gap between the Motorsport 98 and the number 22 United Autosports car of Matt Bell, but they're both catching Christian England for the 10th position. That gap is 5 seconds now, and they are going around 2 seconds a lap quicker. Let's wait and see what emerges in the next couple of minutes to see whether or not that's a trend or just a blip. But, the next significant placement that looks to be under pressure is indeed that 3rd position. James Littlejohn continuing to just nibble away at the advantage of Jens Wolf. The gap is now 2.3 seconds. 7.5 minutes remain. It's a 2-hour race that's been, well, pretty engaging stuff. And I do wonder, Johnny, whether or not one or two of the teams might look at the tactics that have been played here by DB Autosports and DKR Engineering, put out their more experienced drivers on an attack mission. It really has worked, certainly for DKR Engineering.
Entirely so, and yeah, it's almost better to be out of trouble in the early stages, isn't it? Don't get tagged back. I mean, Tony Wells has already made the comment to Charlie George, quite what happens when you get caught in the traffic. You know, he was in clear air, kicking himself now for making that mistake at Scene Corner, and the problem is you not only have a moment, you lose 8 seconds, but then you're embroiled in so much slower traffic, and
Absolutely.
The difficulty is getting past it all.
Now this is the battle for 3rd position. Van Uitert, by the way, has not given up another position. He's just put another fastest first sector in for the number 14 car. He has 5.7 seconds to make up to catch Ricardo Sanchez in the SPV car for 6th.
6.5 minutes to go. I'll turn your attention back again to something I mentioned with about an hour gone, and the Spirit of the Race award. This is an award not necessarily for the top 3 finishers and your obvious choice, but for someone who, or a team, a driver that perhaps have made a real impact on the race, and for entertainment value as well. I think I might have a suggestion, but we'll leave that for a moment or two. Yeah, I'm thinking it might come from that area of the field, certainly. Jens Pedersen leads the way, but Graham drawing my attention to the 11th and 12th place battle that we have concentrated on quite a bit.
And for that matter, I have to tell you, that fantastic battle we had for lap after lap after lap, right at the bottom of the field in the EB Motors and Kessel Racing guys. We've got trouble though, trouble and big trouble for the 17 car. That is the RGP Motorsport car pulling off, smoking from the right rear. That happened on the Mistral and towards the end of the Mistral by the look of things.
Yeah, so a moment for car 17 with RGP Motorsport struggling a little bit at times. So that car, I think, will rejoin without too much of a problem. But obviously, race cars, having been thrashed for the best part of an hour and 55 minutes, are wearing somewhat thin now, and you know, to the very end of their design capability, shall we say, particularly tyres that have been pushed incredibly hard over the last stint and a bit. So down towards the right-hander at Scene corner goes the number 2 car, and that's part of being a canny race driver, is making sure you look after the car along with, you know, pushing hard from the off. And it was a mild concern of mine as far as Leonard Hugenboom's drive was concerned. Yes, it was fast, but how considerate was he being as far as the car was concerned? But it's lasted the distance so far. They build these Normas and Ligiers very strongly indeed. It's only when you sort of give it the Eric Trouillet treatment when things start to fall off it.
You've got to know where to hit things, haven't you, really?
That's true.
Yes, the Ferrari ahead is backing up this pair again, 98 and 22. Is this the moment that Matt Bell gets that position? He's looking around the inside, he's had a look around the outside. Sure, not over the top, but Andy Merrick, has he got this covered? Can't really tell from this angle. It looks to me like Matt Bell is ahead here. But
narrowly.
He's balked by the Ferrari in front. Can he take that line? I'm not sure he can.
Is that Ollie Hancock in the 50 Ferrari that is
Andy Merrick again.
Through. Tremendous stuff. I hope Eric De Donker and Jim Maguire are enjoying this, by the way. Meanwhile,
while we're watching that, third place has gone the way of James Littlejohn. Another. So it's two Ikuria Nielsen cars at the moment on the podium. 3.5 minutes remain. Great result for them at this stage of the race. Andy Merrick and Matt Bell, they will come out of this with massive grins on their face, no doubt whatsoever. Still yellow flags, by the way, turn 8 and turn 9 for the RGP car. Off and out the race by the look of things. And this time, Matt Bell absolutely wedged under the rear wing of Andy Merrick. Where's he going to go this time? Goes for the outside. Merrick covers that off. Goes to take the... This time they touch twice, coming into the turn.
Oh, and has something gone on Merrick's car?
No,
There's just a little bit of smoke.
No, I think it was just a bit of a lock-up from Andy, but he's held it again. 2.5 minutes to go.
Incredible stuff.
Great fun, this.
And, well, the Spirit of the Race award becomes more obvious to me with every second we watch this. Because you think back to the opening stint, and the 22 car also had a tremendous dice with its teammate. But let's have a look. The 22 then to your left.
One tiny touch, then a bigger touch.
Yeah, 98 to the right. So Merrick on the inside there. And, yeah, you're right, that was just a lock-up, wasn't it? Probably from a front tyre. The smoke channeling underneath the car due to the ground effect and out via the rear diffuser. 2 minutes left.
Van Utek, by the way, has halved that 5-second gap in a couple of laps. It's just a couple of seconds now. 2.5 seconds, in fact, to Ricardo Sanchez for 6th position overall. Great stuff.
Tremendous. And as I say, remember back to the 22 car when it was being driven by Jim Maguire, and he was side by side with Richard Mines throughout the opening stint as well. So as long as you're happy with this, Graham, I think the Spirit of the Race goes to the 22 team and the drivers, Jim Maguire and Matt Bell, because this has been enthralling stuff. And bear in mind, these cars aren't even in the top 10. But
indeed,
still tremendous watch for all of us. Laurence Coeur for CD Sport has just put in the best middle sector of anybody. So as the cars get lighter and lighter during this second stint, there's still pace to be found out there.
This is going to be the penultimate lap, I think, for the race leader. Just a minute left on the clock, and let's look for where those gaps might come. Van Uter is going to get that 6th position. He's caught. He now needs to pass Ricardo Sanchez. That's been a storming run from him.
Certainly has.
That's
Very
what,
impressive
4
indeed.
cars passed in this stint.
So many different stories from this opening race of the 2018 Michelin Le Mans Cup. DKR Engineering, to those checking the paperwork at the end of the race and having not watched any of this, they might be,
it's the leader!
Massive
It's the
drama!
leader!
Huge drama as the number 3 car is off the road.
On the final lap!
No way! Into the first corner, and what happened here? Something's gone on that car.
Something broke on the car. Oh,
Something is broken on the. And what did I tell you about Hugenboom charging hard during that first stint?
it's the. He's got it moving. He's got it moving.
30 seconds is the leading margin into this final lap. Surely Noble's got ahead.
Where is Noble? No, Noble's coming behind now. There is Noble. There is Noble in the background. 2 corners back, but that doesn't look to me like Jens Pedersen is up to full speed. This may change on the very final lap. That is a 79 car. Colin Noble with a 30-second deficit. He's surely got the message now that he has to push.
And has something significant broken on the car, or was it just... yes,
there's rear bodywork gone on the car.
After it banked into the barrier.
What will he know about that? Because that's going to affect the aerodynamics of this car. If he tries too hard into seam, this could get very messy.
And is that one of the legality panels that needs to be part of the car at the end of the race?
Well,
it's still hanging on by a thread.
Was that something breaking, or did he just...
I think he
get
just
that
made a
wobble?
mistake,
This is
actually.
inside the garage. Oh no, look at that.
I think that was just a mistake, similar to
Has he got enough?
a lock-up that Andy Merrick did into the first corner. He held it. Jens Pedersen, not necessarily with the same experience to be able to deal with that. The pace of the number 3 car looks okay now, but it's going to be so much closer for Ecuria Kost Nielsen. There was the reaction from DKR Engineering. I wonder what Ecuria Kost and the Nielsen carriage
It's
did.
so close here, Johnny. No, not up the inside there. That's the 99 car.
N-Race looking
Where's
to get
Noble?
by.
There he is.
He's too far back, surely.
2 corners left.
2 corners, and Jens Pedersen, are the team communicating to him where Colin Noble is, or is he better off not knowing? Into the final sequence of
Not
corners.
there.
The 99 might yet have an influence on this as well. Dramatic finish to the Michelin Le Mans Cup for the opening race, and it is going to be DKR Engineering who win the first race of the year. You could almost say that normality is resumed from last year, but the gap at the line from 30 seconds at the start of the final lap is 2.1 at the end of it.
Good grief.
And Ecuria Kost Nielsen bags 2nd and 3rd. Colin Noble, I'm not sure whether he knew what was going on that final lap either. Well, it was a good enough race before that final lap drama, and Jens Pedersen gets it across the line. How long is it going to take him to get the heart rate back to normality?
And by the way, 3 other passes made on that final lap, because Joop van Uter did pass Ricardo Sanchez on the last lap to grab 6th, but Andy Merrick and Matt Bell both got ahead of Christian England. Merrick into the top 10.
Wow, okay, so Merrick leaping ahead of, yes, you say 2 other cars. United Autosports finishing 11th, 12th and 13th. And car 21 and 2 now under investigation for a possible overtake on the yellow. So that concerns the DB Autosport machine that finished 4th and the 2 car that finished 3rd.
Well.
So that is yet to be decided and might affect the cars that finish on the podium.
And that will have been the recovery of the 21. There's the irony. The recovery of the 21 car would have brought out the yellows.
Yes.
And did the number 2 car go by him before the green flag had been shown?
Right.
We didn't really get a chance to see that. Well, GT, by the way, Kessel Racing come home with the win. Giacomo Pacini bringing home the number 8 car, 15th place overall, ahead of Maurizio Mediani, who brings home the 51, 17th position overall, and it's the second Pacini brother, the older of the 2, that comes home in 3rd with the 77 Ferrari. Ollie Hancock comes home 4th.
And there is Maurizio Mediani.
Final car across the line, in fact.
Confirms 2nd position in GT3 for the Spirit of Race crew of Switzerland. But Kessel Racing, also a Swiss team, 1st, 3rd and 4th for Kessel Racing. And sadly, there were 5 retirements for RGP Motorsport. The Brookspeed International car, Nicolas Ronde, coming to a halt just after turn 1. Michael Benham's Lannon Racing car, too badly damaged. Martin Grab in the Stila F Squadra Corsa Ferrari 458, and Alexandre Coigny we lost very early on after just a handful of laps, 4 laps completed. Well, if you like your drama
Phew.
and you like it late on in the day, then follow the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Yet again, in the last gasp of an endurance race, it just continues to do this.
And
Boys, don't you realise?
Yeah, we're getting older and older.
There's
just
only so
watching
much
these
more heart will
races.
take.
I know, but I think you're right about the DKR Engineering Norma not actually braking. I
think he got a wobble on.
It was a bit of a brain fade, perhaps, from Jens Pettersson as he was getting towards the end of the stint, thinking, OK, final lap, just keep it neat and tidy. Oh, I'm off, and I'm in the wall, and I've damaged the rear right corner, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that legality panel, or at least the bullet, as I think they're known in amongst the spares department, had dropped off the car, but it was still attached by a thread, and although the car looks pristine from the front, is slightly damaged on the rear after being reversed into the tyre barrier. But the marshals were quickly on scene, and actually Jens did a great job of starting that car up again and getting it turned around back in the race, and all of a sudden 28 seconds lost. But when you've got a 30-second lead, it didn't actually matter. Colin Noble and James Littlejohn wondering what might have been there to snatch a victory. Kyrgios and Nielsen for Sven's team, who we briefly saw on the walk across from the media centre at the start of this race.
You can see the legality panel hanging off the back of the car there.
Yeah.
And I kind of tend to hope that doesn't affect the result.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been through the mill, and not to detract at all from Leonard and Jens' drive, because they look like a duo to be reckoned with in 2018.
Jens Pettersson has been around endurance racing for a long time, but that's as good a drive, with the possible exception of turn one on his final lap, as I've seen him actually deliver. But, well, lots of storylines, not just for the way in which that race was won. A fantastic attack from the front from the DKR Engineering guys, but then, well, having to defend at the very end, DB Autosports failing to do that from the two charging Kyrgios Nielsen cars. So another win for DKR. Another win for the Norma M30.
And a very happy Giacomo Piccini clambering out of the number 8 Kessel Racing Ferrari as well. Backing up a really good drive from co-driver Sergio Pianazzola, the Italian rally driver, in only his third GT race of his career, having done a little bit of Ferrari Challenge racing, but really not that experienced at all, and finds good speed in qualifying earlier today and then the race. Although the dicing in GT3 during the opening stint was thoroughly entertaining. 62 laps completed then for the DKR Engineering Norma M30 of Jens Pettersson and Leonard Hugenboom win it by 2.1 seconds. It could have been an awful lot more. The two Kyrgios Nielsen cars complete the podium, and then it was the DB Autosport car of Jacques Wolf who finished that stint alongside his teammate Nicolas Schatz. 5th position CD Sport, 6th place for RLR M Sport, and a charging Jaap van Utrecht at the end of the race. Ricardo Sanchez, the Mexican for SPV Racing, gets the 44. 7th, then the two Graf cars of Marc-Antoine Danilou and Damien Foss to complete the stints. And 10th position for Motorsport 98 after a tremendous display from the second drivers in those squads, Andy Merrick and Matt Bell. GT3 honours going the way then of Kessel Racing. As mentioned already, Spirit of Race finished second, and it's another Kessel car, third. Let's look back at the highlights then, and there are many of them from the last 2 hours. Cars getting underway. They were just about 5 abreast across the line, and Tony Wells making a run for the lead. Didn't quite make it stick into the first bend, and had another go at it into turn 3 here. Unfortunately, there was contact. Eric Trouillet spinning, and Tony Wells taking the lead as a result. The number 3 car slotting into second position early doors. Then Leonard Hugenboom eventually would get by Tony Wells, and there was a big spin for the man from the northeast of England as well at Scene Corner. Here it is, Tony Wells almost entering shot backwards, but he did really good to flick the car in the right direction, flat spotting all 4 Michelins, I'm sure, and had to nurse those tyres towards the end. There was more contact for Eric Trouillet into the side of Michael Benham, and and that incident had to be looked into by the race direction team. And again, Eric Trouillet stabbing up the inside there into turn 4, and this eventually did significant damage to the Norma M30. That light pod on the front left corner of the car stripping from the nose, and it needed to pit immediately. Hugenboom, and not necessarily a neat and tidy stop. He ran a bit too far into the pit lane and needed to be pushed into the bay by the team. Meanwhile, then we had second drivers obviously on board, so Jens Pettersson under some stern pressure here from Nicolas Schatz out of turn 14, and the two Graf cars of Delafosse and Danny Liu were together for much of the second half of the race. In the background, Joop van Uitert started his run up the order, which would eventually take him to 6th position. The 21 car of Jacques Wolf had a moment, and this was where Colin Noble was able to get by together with James Littlejohn's car. And that incident is still, by the way, under investigation about overtaking under yellow flags for both the 2 and the 21. And this was a sting in the tail we were not expecting. A spin for the race leader into turn 1, heads in, hands down at DKR Engineering. Quite how Jens Pettersson managed to select first gear and the right direction so quickly will remain a mystery to me, but fortunately for those guys, a 30-second lead became just 2.1 at the end, but they still bagged victory, possibly against all odds, with the car in the wall for a fair old time. So let's catch up with some of the stories down in pit lane. Charlie George just trying to mop up some of those right now.
Well, guys, first of all, congratulations. But Jens, what a moment. We all have had our hearts in our mouths. How was it for you?
It was quite a difficult race. We had no radio communication at all. And I had a badge in the car at my knees. We mounted that before the race. And that was a big mistake because I had problems with steering. I could not steer at all. So I didn't know where I was. I was even fighting against guys I didn't have to fight against. And I also didn't know that I was, in the last lap. And then I thought I had to speed up, and back went out in turn 1, and I tried to correct, but I couldn't because I had the badge at my knees. But I was lucky enough to finish the race, and we won. But today, I think 85 of the credit goes to 2 guys, Team DKR, and this young man, Leonard Hogenboom, who did an excellent job. A name to remember, I think.
Absolutely. Well done, Leonard. A fantastic result for your first race in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, the moment we were first was okay. And then the last moment at the last lap was a little bit scary, but we were at it and we won. It's good.
Thank you. Well done, guys.
Something lost in translation there. Jens Pettersson labelling it as a batch around his knees. I think it's basically something to do with the seating position or the way the steering wheel is mounted, which clearly compromised the way that he could control the car, and he's nursed that all the way through that second stint. So that should be, should bear that in mind as well to actually get the thing to the finish.
Well, what it certainly shows, though, is that would look to be a reasonably simple fix for them, so that's not good news for the rest.
Well, true, yes. So anything that has hindered them in this race will be a quick fix. To the podium then, our first of the year in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and to the third step at the podium, James Littlejohn and Tony Wells. Colin Noble, after a cracking drive, joined by teammate in the 79 car, Alistair McCaig, and handshakes from all 4 teammates at Ecurie Kost Nielsen. But here is Leonard Hugenboom and Jens Pettersson. And Jens bring a brave face on what was a very, very difficult race by the sounds of things. Also on the top step of the podium in a moment or two will be one of the team members from DKR Engineering. It might be that said member has been on the top step a few times last season as well. Another chance to hear the Luxembourgish national anthem for the winners. national anthem of Luxembourg for DKR Engineering, and there is the flag above the top step as well. 2 Union flags for the Ecurie Kos Nielsen Brigade as well, and third place trophies going the way of Tony Wells on the left of shot and James Littlejohn on the right. Over to the other side of the podium, these trophies being presented by one of the staff members from Michelin, tyre suppliers of this championship once more, and it is Colin Noble and teammate Alistair McCaig who finish in second position, but the biggest trophies go the way of Jens Pettersson and Leonard Hugenboom. Our spirit of the race go to car 22, United Autosports, Jim Maguire and Matt Bell, after great racing for both drivers in each of their respective stints, particularly the Matt Bell and Andy Merrick scrap. It was a tough choice for me between Merrick and Bell, but I think Jim Maguire's performance in the opening stint just about swung it. More drone camera action of the podium this time. Well, that was a thoroughly entertaining 2 hours, I thought, Graham.
It certainly was. That was a cracker of a race, wasn't it? And as I say, there might be some tactical things that the other teams are wanting to think about from DKR there. Giacomo Piccini, by the way, tops the GT3 Drivers' Championship with Sergio Piazzolla.
We will be doing the podium for the GT3s in a moment or two, but stories to catch up on as far as the GT3 classification is concerned. Let's hear from our winners with Charlie George.
Well, Giacomo, and to both of you, congratulations. A convincing win there for GT3. Not bad for his third race.
Yeah, he did basically everything. I didn't do nothing. I just cruised for my stint. And no, really, the car was amazing. The team did a great job. Sergio was unbelievable because the start was not easy. He has been pushed out. Perazzini passed him from the outside, and then it was enough smart to keep calm and recover, overtake him, and then keep his pace. And he did an amazing stint. Then at the end, I did just what I could, but the car was amazing. We had a lot of advantage, so it was quite easy, I would say. It was great. Congratulations to us and to the team, of course, and to Sergio that did something amazing.
Well done, guys. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Pianatola and Piccini make it a winning combination in the first GT3 race of the year for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. LMP3 going the way of DKR Engineering, but it's set to be a much closer year, I would wager, than 2017. Clearly the Norma M30 very strong here, down the long straights at Ricard. There are long straights at Monza as well for next month's 2-hour race, and then we head to Le Mans, where there's quite a long straight too, for 2 races, 2 55-minute affairs through Le Mans race week. But as we gather our breath and think about the many, many highlights, there are ups and downs for various teams. AF Corsa had a nightmare with their 71 car chasing that, steering-related issue, quite possibly. That will get sorted in time for race number 2 in Italy as the GT3 podium takes shape. So finishing in third for Kessel Racing, the number 77 crew. That's Claudia Schiavoni and Andrea Piccini. On the second step of the podium from the 51 car, Christoph Ulrich and Maurizio Mediani. Here's the national anthem of the winning team, though, Kessel Racing. A very Swiss podium indeed.
It is. Spirit of Race, of course, are registered as a Swiss team. So an all-Swiss podium, and that's a pretty unusual thing in international motorsports.
Certainly is. Although motor racing reappearing in Switzerland, I think last year or the start of this year with the Formula E event in Zurich. Check the calendar whether that's happened yet or not. It might be the season finale actually for Formula E, but certainly returning to that country since 1955.
Yeah, but this is better though, isn't it? Come on.
Well, true. That's right. And as you say, Spirit of Race are effectively AF Corsa, but there's interestingly a car entered from each of those teams. So had we had an AF Corsa winner, that would have been the Italian national anthem and the Italian tricolour. So, champagne about to be sprayed. Congratulations to Sergio Pianazzola. Early on in his car racing career, done a lot of rallying in the past. Giacomo Puccini, vastly experienced. And this still relatively new Ferrari 488 looks to be the car to beat, mainly because most people have decided to go with one for this year. Spirit of Race get a clink of champagne bottles for their second place, and it's Maurizio Mediani, as I mentioned, with Christoph Ulrich. And there is how the points stand after one race in the GT3 class of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Kessel Racing lead it then 26 points because by virtue of the fact of the 25 for a win and the pole position from earlier on today. And the Drivers' Championship in LMP3 headed by Jens Pettersson and Leonard Hugenboom. They didn't get pole position, remember, but it's 25 for a win. They lead by 7 over Alistair McCaig, Colin Noble, and Tony Wells just tucked in there with James Littlejohn in effectively third position in the championship. Joop van Uitert scoring well with John Ferrano in the opening race of the year. 6th place for those two. DKR Engineering lead the team's championship as well by 7 from the 2 Ecuriakos Nielsen cars. DB Autosport 4th and CD Sport in 5th position. My thanks to Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com. That's our Michelin Le Mans Cup